Stick with me. You and I are about to watch a war prisoner reveal some insanely broken hidden talents. First, he got dumped. Hard. So he rage quit his job and totally obsessed over the game, Pangea. 5 full years later, literally the last player standing. Why? Because the difficulty was absolutely brutal. Today, he literally reincarnated into Pangea as a slave, complete with a system interface and 13 hidden talents, making him an absolute genius with every single weapon. Flash to a scorching desert. Heat waves dancing over endless sand. Out of nowhere, a squad of warriors runs into a massive 3-headed monster. Gripping their spears, they braced for the deadly showdown. Boom. The enemy lunged, driving a sword straight through his chest. One guy dropped down wounded, but Randolph completely locked in on the fight. Pushing forward without blinking, he dropped the next target with one clean, deadly strike. After that wild combo, he gasped for air, desperately trying to catch his breath. The enemies started screaming, calling him a total freak. Completely drained from the bloodbath, he hunched over, heavily leaning on his blade. Smelling blood, the boss ordered everyone to execute the exhausted monster. But even bleeding out, his cold glare stayed totally locked onto his targets. Bleeding and exhausted, a completely insane smirk crossed his face. Panting hard, he raised his head for one final move. Then he just full-on sprinted and leaped straight into the charging mob. Clenching his weapon, he braced for impact. Suddenly, glowing system windows flashed everywhere, triggering a bunch of broken hidden abilities instantly. Now watch closely, the enemy screamed for everyone to attack him together. Roaring in pure rage, he countered their massive assault. Then snapped back to reality. A trashed room complete with greasy food wrappers everywhere. Slumped in his chair, our boy was totally hypnotized by the glowing monitor. Boom. The classic game over screen popped up. His character was finally dead. Losing his mind, he screamed, cursing out this absolute garbage game. From a top-down view, he just sat there, frozen, buried in his own mess. Glancing out the window, he stared blankly at the busy, totally normal city outside. Head inside, he turned his back on the real world and faced the screen again. His dirty keyboard was literally buried under a mountain of junk food. He just froze there for a second, staring at the glowing monitor with zero emotion. Eventually, his eyes narrowed, shifting into full hardcore gamer mode. And right there on the screen, the login menu for that cursed old game Pangea. It promised to grant one single wish, baiting millions of players who instantly rage quit. Fast forward 5 years. The game remained completely unbeaten, basically a dead wasteland. Thanks to the ridiculous difficulty, it got slammed by reviews from day one. Bosses were literally impossible, making every single player completely lose their minds. Even your own teammates could stab you in the back when you least expected. Even worse, high-level computer characters hunted you down for bounties. But the absolute kicker, if you die once your entire save file is deleted, gone. Because of all that toxic design, the game died almost immediately. You and I have to wonder, was someone secretly rigging this game to never end? Crying over 5 years of wasted grinding, he mourned his 8 lost legendary items. But suddenly something crazy popped up, making his jaw totally drop. A system warning confirmed his deletion, but wait, it also handed him massive points. Mind absolutely blown by the number, he realized those legendary items traded for huge points. Pangea converts your dead character's value into raw points, meaning you can literally buy broken talents and re-roll a completely overpowered new hero. Thinking back to his last build, he remembered spending just 10,000 points total. Seeing his new balance of 1,600,000 points, he grinned like a madman. Hand hovering over the mouse, he debated playing a safe mage. No. Done with trying to win, he just hit randomize for one last chaotic run. Locking it in, he slammed that left click hard. Cue the dramatic flashback. A woman stood there holding a coffee, apologizing. Completely confused, he asked what was wrong. She flat out said she refused to date a total loser with zero future plans. She kept going, complaining that she needed to think about marriage soon. Completely crushed, he couldn't even speak, just looking away in absolute dead silence. Not stopping there, she brutally listed off every single reason for dumping him. She bragged about her friends marrying rich corporate guys. Then she just glared at him, clearly comparing him to all those successful dudes. With zero comeback, he just hung his head, taking the massive loss. Telling him to just move on, she stood right up, announcing they were done. Barely whispering, he just tragically wished her a good life. He walked out, leaving him utterly alone. That brutal 5-year breakup just 3 months ago. And trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. Let's dive right into a story about a guy who rage quit his terrible job. After that, he basically became a total shut-in, spending every waking second addicted to gaming. But snapping back to reality, he finally realized how pathetic his life got. Totally fired up, he screamed out loud and smashed that mouse button. Instantly, a system alert popped up. Bam, 100 soul points completely drained from his account. He practically choked, staring wide-eyed at the glowing computer screen in absolute shock. A hidden feature suddenly activated. What the heck was this? Then a mysterious message actually invited him to Pangea, leaving him scratching his head completely. Suddenly, whoosh, an invisible force literally sucked his body straight toward the monitor. Terrified, he could only stare as a blinding white light completely swallowed his entire room. Somewhere, a terrifying creature roared, swearing to absolutely destroy its wretched master's created world. Ripped through space, he screamed in pure agony, plummeting into absolute chaos. Clutching his head, he panicked, wondering what in the world was actually happening to him. Hearing that creepy voice in his mind, his gaze locked in, filled with terror. Back in reality, he violently crashed onto his desk. Now out cold on the floor, his body laid totally motionless right in front of the monitor. Watch closely, because things get wild. The screen wished him happiness in Pangea. Cut to another place, he's literally getting whipped and called totally useless. A ruthless slaver threatened to feed him to the Hydra, warning that falling meant absolute death. That name shocked him. He quickly turned his head, struggling to process what was just said. Suddenly, boom, a massive foot slammed down, forcing everyone to scramble backward. Cracking his whip at the other prisoners, the guard forced them all forward. Totally confused, he glanced around, questioning this insane reality. Staring at the Hydra, he finally realized thick, heavy chains tightly bound his wrists together. Whack! Taking another brutal hit, the guard screamed at him to fall in line. Sprawled in the dirt, he listened to the guard, aggressively screaming for him to stand. Struggling through the immense pain, he pushed himself up, his eyes burning with pure determination. Marching in a miserable line, they dragged their feet through the scorching, dusty sand. Rocking a completely new body, he scanned his chaotic surroundings. Squinting into the distance, it clicked that Hydra was literally a boss monster from the game Pangea. Glancing at the horizon, he realized this barren landscape looked incredibly familiar too. Testing a crazy theory, he mentally commanded his status window to open up. Shockingly, a glowing blue system panel instantly popped up right in front of his face. Scanning all that wild information, his eyes practically bugged out reading the system's contents. You and I both know what this means, right? The glowing screen showed all his stats and skills. He had officially been sucked straight into the actual Pangea game world. Realizing this was actually real, his utterly shocked expression was visible to everyone. He freaked out seeing all his basic attributes sitting at level 12. But scrolling further down, he almost had a heart attack, discovering he possessed 13 insanely overpowered hidden traits. Out of nowhere, all the prisoners halted, staring totally stunned in the exact same direction. Completely clueless, our guy quickly glanced around, desperately trying to figure out what was happening. Those tough guards, who were super calm a second ago, now sweating bullets. Out on the horizon, a massive dust cloud signaled a whole army was charging right at them. Busting through that dust storm, the Desert Queen's ruthless army broke the peace pact and attacked. Riding a giant beast, their commander screamed for everyone to ready their weapons. Watching this epic chaos unfold, our boy completely froze, way too terrified to even move a muscle. Staring at the woman, he instantly recognized her as the totally fearsome serpent princess. Right then, another system panel popped up, dropping a brand new main quest on him. Reading this brutal survival mission, he realized failing meant absolute death. Literally a second later, a massive shower of deadly arrows rained down toward the helpless prisoners. Struck by arrows, guys screamed in sheer panic, scrambling wildly for any kind of cover. Right in the middle of this slaughter, he watched people violently fall, begging for help. Covered in dirt, he just blankly stared at the bloody massacre unfolding around him. Eyes completely wide, his brain finally registered the deadly reality of his surroundings. Suddenly, the system automatically triggered one of his 13 crazy hidden abilities. The alert revealed this skill basically gave him infinite stamina. Watching dudes drop dead left and right, his brain completely locked into pure survival mode. Spotting a dead guard nearby, he knew he had to move fast or die trying. Sprinting toward the guy's dropped sword, he desperately rushed to grab it off the sand. Sliding into the dirt, he snatched up the heavy blade. Gripping the hilt super tight, he braced himself for the brutal, imminent fight ahead. Standing tall with his new weapon, he glared at the charging enemies with pure determination. Out of nowhere, an enemy leaped straight at him, swinging for a one-hit kill. Reacting purely on instinct, he blocked the heavy strike and countered perfectly. Pushing the attacker back, he followed up with an incredibly clean, precise slash. After landing that hit, he took a solid stance, waiting for the next strike. Suddenly, his weapon master trait kicked in, and his eyes shifted into total predator mode. Sprinting across the bloody sand, he readied his blade, absolutely hyper-focused on his next target. A guard lunged to attack. He ducked, barely dodging the blade. That's it for now, trust me, you and I absolutely need to see what happens next. The enemy's weapon shatters on the ground, leaving him completely off balance. Stick with me here. He grabs the hilt, his first time ever using one, but swings that staff for a perfect hit. Seeing this madness, another guard charges forward, screaming, sword raised and ready to kill. He leans back narrowly, dodging the fatal strike. Looking up, he realizes his newfound skills are way beyond anything he imagined. Long swords, axes, he masters them all. Blocking the hit, he instantly crosses blades with the guard. Just like that, he reads the sword's path, perfectly predicting the next strike. His eyes narrow. He can literally see the flow of combat now. Dodging perfectly, he casually leans past the deadly cut. Boom, he lunges and lands a direct hit straight to the guy's face. Snatching the dropped axe, he readies for round two. New weapon in hand, he charges the next guard without a single second thought. Ignoring the begging, he ends it fast and brutal. Totally exhausted, he leans on his sword, staring down the rest. Gasping for air, his eyes stay locked on his targets. The terrified guards call him a monster, completely freaking out over this slaughter. Right then, the system triggers another trait, giving his weapon proficiency a massive boost. Level 6 already. That is literal night tier. Gripping his blade, he knows these hidden system traits are his absolute only hope. But facing down 500 enemies, he seriously questions whatever sick mind designed this mission. Now, pay attention here. We shift to a dark throne room where the Serpent Princess kneels. The queen asks, did the demonic expedition fail? Demanding an answer, she glares down at the princess, waiting for the bad news. Looking at the floor, the princess quietly confirms that, yep, the mission completely bombed. The queen instantly declares they have to stop the entire continent from blaming them. So she gives a chilling order: kill every single survivor of the expedition. Any proof of this massive failure must be completely erased. And the reward, the queen promises she will finally lift the princess's dark curse. Fists clenched tight, the princess accepts the bloody terms. But the queen gives one final warning: do not fail this time, no matter what. Back in the scorching desert, she watches the battlefield from afar. A minion walks up asking if the cleanup operation is totally done. Then he drops the news: one single slave is still out there fighting back. Shocked, she demands to know how a mere slave survived. Down in the dirt, dozens of guard bodies are scattered everywhere. Right in the middle of that carnage, our MC leans on his sword. And as he breathes, a glorious level-up screen pops up. With that sweet system, ping his health, mana, and stamina are 100% restored. Fully healed and hyped, he stands tall, ready for round 3. Seeing this absolute beast, a guard captain screams for everyone to fall back. Suddenly, riding a massive creature, the princess shows up, shocking all her own troops. He glares up at her. The final boss is here. Digging through his gaming memories, he recognizes her immediately. Isabella von Dersian, the princess. A system window pops up right away, but almost all her stats are blocked out. You and I both know level 8 means game over. He can't win this. In Pangea, hitting level 7 was already an insane wall. So level 8, that is reserved exclusively for the absolute top-tier leaders. Staring down certain death, he braces himself. But checking that status screen again, he spots a very weird active curse effect on her. She jumps off her beast, landing silently on the sand. Staring him down, she admits his fighting talent is actually pretty fascinating, but sadly for him, she makes it clear he has to die right here. He thinks back to his past. Why did he always play hardcore mode? Because he loved finding exploits to break completely impossible games. He was literally a gaming degenerate among perverts. Trusting his crazy timing, he watches her dash straight at him for the kill. She launches herself into the air, charging up an absolutely devastating blow to finish him. Smiling like a maniac, he drops the bomb. Want to remove that curse? She freezes midair, stopping her blade an inch from his face. Zero panic. He just keeps talking, holding perfect eye contact like an absolute Chad. Furious, she presses her deadly dagger right against his throat. Glaring into his soul, she demands answers. Who exactly is he? She needs to know this mystery guy's true identity right now. Smooth as butter, he says he's the one who guides the stars. He introduces himself as a star weaver and casually offers his help. Her eyes go wide. She is totally stunned by this crazy out-of-nowhere proposal. Seeing her face, he knows his bluff worked. And that's where we leave it. Trust me. Faking a legendary NPC class is pure genius. Alright, stick with me here. Breaking the curse absolutely required a Star Weaver's blessing. Faced with this insane offer, she lowers her head thinking, he absolutely knew she was desperate to wipe out that nasty curse. Here is the funny part: Isabella von Dersian was literally his own creation. Standing right in front of her maker, she had absolutely zero clue about her own existence. Players usually travel the whole world chasing endings, but he totally ditched this character, leaving her completely stuck under the Queen's terrible curse. Totally clueless, she just asks him for his current name, calls himself Randolph, and the system locks in his fresh alias. For a solid second, they just stare at each other in massive, awkward silence. Sheathing her sharp dagger, she casually mentions she is pausing his execution today. Backing up, she glares and drops one final deadly threat. If he is lying about all this, oh, she will absolutely end his life. Spinning toward the guards, she barks an order to serve him well. Test cleared. The system hypes up his literally legendary results. Thanks to dumb beginner's luck, his epic rewards get upgraded and fresh items drop. Totally drained, he face plants right into the sand, amazed he actually survived. Finally, a crisp alert says his score is hitting the Hall of Fame. Smash cut nighttime rolls over a massive, super fancy city structure. Now pay attention here. He is chilling in a fancy tub checking his loot. Super focused, he scrolls through all those glowing floating system screens. Scanning the drops, he is mind-blown. He actually scored the Hydra's soul. Then he checks an item that literally merges reality straight with Pangea. Suddenly, 3 maids march right into the bathroom, completely startling him. Towels in hand, they offer him a full-blown scrubbing on the spot. Having them wash his feet instead, He sweats. Is this some hidden trap? Right then, a maid steps up, gently scrubbing his hand. Recognizing Isabella's personal staff, he knows he has to keep an absolute poker face. Sweating bullets, he fights his wild instincts to just stay perfectly chill. Looking away fast, he zeroes in on not looking suspicious at all. Out of nowhere, a maid totally gasps, spotting something crazy right there. Full panic mode engaged, he summons his status window to fix this mess. Completely lost, he frantically tries to figure out what just broke. Scanning the text, he realizes the literal wall between worlds is melting away. Brain working overtime, he absorbs every single detail on the glowing screen. Bam, the Hall of Fame pops up, throwing him straight into first place. A maid suddenly hits him with questions about that Starweaver stuff. Eyes wide, he finally spots a detail he completely missed before. Recognizing familiar tags, he realizes other gamers got dragged into Pangea too, but you and I know what new information really catches his eye, right? Checking the glowing alert, he finds the Holy Grail, the logout button. Realizing this is his ticket out of this cursed game, he shoos the maids away. He fakes an excuse saying he needs alone time with the stars. He even bluffs that messing up this chat could destroy his epic powers. Hearing this crazy excuse, the poor maid is just completely stunned and frozen. Wishing him luck with the stars, they bail and shut the heavy door. Alone at last, he gears up for his great escape plan. Huge sigh of relief. His totally trash excuse somehow worked. Hopping out of the tub, he confesses he was sweating about being trapped forever. Saying peace out to this crazy world, he readies his escape button. One tap and he smashes that beautiful exit game button. Instantly, the system kicks off the logout sequence and tells him to hold on tight. Mid-warp, the system casually drops that in-game death equals real death. Spawning back in reality, he is greeted by his totally boring empty bedroom. But taking one look outside, the entire city is basically a blazing apocalypse. Down below, people are totally losing it, screaming and running for their lives. Through the massive flames, a giant beast stomps out, cranking up the horror. His phone blows up, flashing a massive emergency disaster alert on the screen. Absolutely shook, he just stares, wondering what on earth went so horribly wrong. Jump scare, warning a massive monster head peeks right into his window. Screeching like crazy, the thing opens its jaws to show something seriously weird. Scared out of his mind, he yells and falls straight on his back. Mind completely breaking, he cannot fathom why game monsters are trashing his city. Right then, a tiny golden item hits the floor next to him. Sitting right there was the epic golden rule fragment from the literal game. Flashing back to his crazy survival quest, he remembered fighting mobs everywhere. Fights the princess. Trust me, you and I are absolutely hooked. Let's jump into the wildest system Manhwa ever. Our guy just jolted awake, terrified. Sitting in his chair, he's totally clueless about where he even is. Looking around his messy room, he figures he just passed out grinding video games again. But nope, this isn't your average web novel. Glancing at his desk, literal video game loot is magically appearing right in front of his eyes. Gripping the glowing fragment, he screams out, was that crazy dream actually real? Freaking out, he wildly digs into his pockets. He dashes straight to his computer only to find the game's website has completely vanished. Staring at the error screen, he's totally confused. But then blood-curdling screams for help echo from outside. Peeking out the window, a literal monster just body slams some poor dude into the pavement. With the guy down, civilians are sprinting for their lives. Street cops are firing wildly, screaming into their radios for backup. A sudden system alert pops up. He stares outside, completely losing his mind. Why are Pangea game monsters invading reality? Stumbling backwards in pure shock, that golden fragment slips right out of his trembling hands. Then it hits him. The barrier between reality and the game is collapsing. Full panic mode engaged. He frantically looks around for a plan. Reaching down to the floor, he grabs that dropped golden item. Clutching the loot, he slumps down. Wait, a crazy idea just clicked. Watch closely, because here's the genius part. If those monsters are real, he rushes to the desk, realizing his broken game items must work here too. He tears open the reward bag and blinding light explodes outward. Boom, Michaela's legendary sword and the Hydra's soul are literally floating there. Grabbing the soul, he panics. How do you activate this without a mouse? Then he remembers the fragment. The description says it syncs reality with the game. He's weak, sure, but his max-level game character, absolute beast. He activates it. Bam's synchronization with his god-tier avatar Randolph is 100% complete. The system chimes in this buff lasts exactly 24 hours. Cut to a ruined street where someone is sprinting past absolute carnage. Through the smoke and chaos, a terrified mother is running for her life, clutching her little girl. The crying kid begs for her dad. Mom promises he's coming. But suddenly massive concrete debris starts crashing down right toward them. The massive impact sends the girl tumbling. Now thick dust completely separates her from her mother. Girl screams as her mom gets pinned. Her mom begs her to run. Just then, another woman dashes over, asking if the kid is okay. Badly injured, the trapped mom begs the stranger to take her child and run. Looking totally determined, the woman makes a split-second choice to save the kid's life. Apologizing to the mother, she promises to get the little girl to safety. But as she turns her head, she spots a terrifying new monster charging straight at them. Before she can even blink, the beast lunges brutally, impaling her right through the body. Still holding the kid, she faces death. We all saw this coming, right? Just as they freeze in terror, a blazing fast strike slices the air. Bam! He severs the claws, saving them both. Eyes flashing with intense power, he glares at the remaining horde. Gripping his legendary sword, he charges straight into the bloodthirsty mob. The woman just stares, her eyes wide with absolute utter disbelief. Realizing she's actually alive, she squeezes the little girl tight. Staring at the hero's back, she's completely stunned. Who is this guy? Suddenly, the boss monster pivots and lunges right at him. She screams out in pure panic, begging him to watch his back. The massive beast swings with everything it has, slamming its giant claw down to crush him flat. Slumped on the ground, she's shaking in terror. But then a literal 9-headed dragon materializes behind him, shocking everyone. Riding high on one of those heads, a tiny creature prepares to strike. With one sharp word, he commands the massive beast to stand absolutely still. Watching this absolute madness unfold, the woman is practically frozen in awe. Smiling in absolute shock, she seriously wonders if she's dreaming. Right then, the little girl screams for her mom and runs straight through the dusty rubble. The woman watches with relief as the crying kid finally reunites with her injured mom. But then her eyes dart sideways to an insane sight. Seeing those monsters literally devouring the dragon, she's left wondering, who the heck is this guy? Cut to the global view, monsters are wrecking cities worldwide. Humanity isn't done. Badass warriors step up to fight back. In the heat of battle, one warrior's armor starts glowing like crazy. Raising his blade, he confidently tells everyone to chill out. But watching this speech on a giant screen, some rich dude just scoffs in total disgust. Lounging on his fancy couch, he mocks anyone wasting those rare fragments. So what do you and I take from this? Gripping his gear, Player Massacre smirks, knowing the strongest guy will rule this new reality. Then the ranking updates showing Randolph dominating first place with an insane score. Right, stick with me. You and I are about to watch a legendary ghost player who nearly cleared this entire insane game, but his epic run ended in a total absolute wipeout. Because he was ranked number 1, the system summoned him right after his character died. And summoned players completely inherited their old character's broken talents. Smiling, he knew only one guy had that insane high score. Back in the game world, he grins, fully grasping how messed up things are. Right now, actual monsters and players were crashing into the real world. He closes his eyes, piecing this crazy puzzle together. Remembering his near win, he also remembers the brutal backstabbing he took in-game. Basically, the mercenaries he paid totally turned on him. Now he's wondering, what if those backstabbers got summoned here too? Stepping out of the bath, it hits him, he's got a massive target on his back. The walls between worlds are gone. Staying offline just isn't an option anymore. Leaving his room, he decides he desperately needs to level up fast. Sitting on her throne, Isabella asks if he finally finished communicating with the stars. Saying yes, he tells her he came to fulfill his big promise. But he drops a condition, making Isabella super curious about this deal. The servants clear out, and she gets ready to hear his crazy demands. He demands access to the sanctuary, leaving her completely stunned by the sheer audacity. Now pay attention, this is wild. She calls him insane and refuses, but he smiles, insisting that's where his ultimate prize is waiting. Under a bright full moon, those massive sanctuary ruins look seriously intimidating. Stepping straight into a blood pool, she walks in without blinking. Walking down the dark hall, she steps right past the defeated guards' bodies. Dagger out, she's totally ready for a fight. Watching her from a distance, he thinks having a badass like her around is actually a huge win. Flashback time, Isabella looks totally shocked, hearing his insane plan to hit the holy sanctuary. He explains his next quest is grabbing the exact overpowered class he wants. Grinning, he basically says the stars are practically begging him to take them. Still not buying it, she asks if the stars are actually there. He nods. He says he needs a star's blessing to shatter a curse. Warning him about the deadly risks, she offers him one last chance to just walk away. He's relieved knowing if he couldn't convince her, she'd probably chop his head off. Stopping up ahead, she announces they've finally reached his crazy destination. Staring at those pitch-black stairs, he gets ready to raid this deadly holy ground. Right on cue, the system pops up. Recommended level for this nightmare is 8, but his demonic resistance stat lets him stroll in just fine. Thinking about the epic loot, he figures letting Isabella tank the front is a smart play, but honestly, his mind was completely focused on something else. Heading downstairs, he preps himself to grab a broken new class in this sanctuary. Locked onto his goal, he's totally sure he can score that rare class. You and I know this place screams danger, right? They walk deeper into the ruins. In total silence, Isabella just stares with a deadly serious expression. With her long hair blowing, she keeps scanning the creepy area. Smirking, she acts way too confident for a death trap. But then she stops, and he quickly grabs her, asking where the heck she's going. Still smirking, she points out that the bridge right in front of them is rigged. Laughing at his hesitation, she totally teases him for being scared. But then her face drops, getting massively offended when he accuses her instead. Calling him a massive coward, she crosses her arms, refusing to admit she's scared. Faking a muscle cramp, he sits down and begs for a piggyback ride. Absolutely snapping, she yells, asking if he has a death wish for saying that. He claims it's an emergency, saying carrying her is way better than watching her freeze up. Groaning, she closes her eyes and actually caves to his stupid logic. Already on his back, she complains she'd never do this without that stupid cramp. Telling her to hang on tight, he gets ready to completely sprint. Then boom, he just takes off across the rocky barren wasteland. Freaking out, she screams that he's running straight into a total death zone. Totally ignoring her, he literally leaps right into the massive black void. Mid-air, his secret mutation trait suddenly kicks in thanks to the game system. This new skill, a hidden invisible path, lights up right before his eyes. Proving her wrong, he casually answers that this is the real route. Mind blown, she wonders how he found a path she never knew existed. Smirking, he throws it back at her, asking if the vice captain is shaking now. Absolutely raging, she demands to know if he wants to die for calling her heavy. Climbing the ladder, she realizes he acts like they're childhood buddies. Squinting suspiciously, she asks if they've ever crossed paths before today. He casually replies they've never actually shared the same physical space before. He admits he's seen her around, but she's definitely never seen him before. Carried by bright light, they teleport. Trust me, we gotta see what's next. Alright, you and I are about to watch the wildest boss raid ever. A massive light grabs them, dropping our duo gently right into a gorgeous flower-covered field. Checking out the area, he remembers this zone has a strict domain barrier. Suddenly, deep inside a dark cave, an eerie red glow flares up. Creepy stone creatures start forming straight out of the rock walls. Pulling themselves up from the dirt, these monsters lock onto our heroes. Right in front of them, a massive stone golem stomps out, sporting a glowing crystal on its chest. Staring at the Guardian, he knows the harsh truth. Right now, a single scratch would be completely fatal. Smirking, she asks if his little cramp is over. Annoyed, he just snaps at her to shut up. Boom, the golem lunges forward with absolute power, aiming a heavy blow right at them both. Clenching its massive rock fist, the huge beast winds up for a brutal strike. Crashing down with insane speed, the giant stone creature absolutely obliterates the ground with its fist. Flashing a cocky smile, Isabella gets ready to counter this monster. In just one single strike, she blocks the heavy punch and completely shatters the huge golem. Next, she shatters the monster's arm entirely into falling rubble. Staring down the rocky beast, she calmly warns it that this whole fight will end very quickly. Flashing her daggers, she starts slicing up and completely destroying the smaller rock monsters. Seeing the destruction, the bigger golem prepares another attack. In response, she dashes forward completely, wiping out all the remaining golems with her super fast strikes. Seeing her power, he's actually amazed by the awesome character he personally created. Whipping out her chains, she easily binds and totally crushes the surrounding stone beasts. Easily dodging, she counters hard, completely shattering the massive golem with one epic blow. Just chilling and watching the fight, a glowing system prompt pops up right in his face. Since the boss is dead, the system generously offers him the rare artisan class. Back in the Pangea game, this was actually an incredibly rare and top-tier summoning class. But honestly, it's not his vibe, so he just straight up hits the reject button. He totally rejects it because the only person who can actually grant his dream class is someone else. Suddenly, a weird energy flares up, making Isabella completely shocked and on high alert. Now watch this. Things get insane. This weird energy rapidly floods the beautiful flower field. Shaking the mountains, the system flashes a huge warning. The local king is absolutely furious. Staring up, he smirks, saying the big boss finally decided to show itself. Boom, a colossal serpent drops in, revealing herself as the legendary ancient king and guardian Dramat. Sweating from the crazy pressure, he stares at the beast, completely shocked by her aura. Realizing who this snake is, he instantly identifies her as the mountain sanctuary's ultimate guardian. Flashing a calm smile, he tells Isabella to chill out about this guardian. But the beast ignores him, instantly blasting a massive energy beam straight at their faces. Isabella gets launched flying backward, brutally slammed by the impact of that heavy blow. Surviving the hit, she digs her sharp daggers into the dirt to stop herself. Glancing over, she sees him just standing there, sporting a seriously weird, almost goofy smile. Totally baffled, she glares at him, completely unable to process this mess. Angrily, she asks if this raging monster is really the friendly, gentle guide he talked about. The huge snake challenges her to fight, but Isabella frantically screams that she is definitely not the correct target. Playing dumb, he actually asks if she plans to quit after beating the stone boss. Before she can even yell back, the giant snake aggressively whips its massive tail once again. Getting hit, she kept frantically shouting that she was not the one challenging the snake. Barely dodging the fatal tail slam, she desperately begs for his secret strategy, but his mind goes blank. Staring wide-eyed, our MC suddenly realizes his hilarious huge mistake. Being a rare spiritual creature, Dramat actually gained her wisdom straight from the star's energy. Back in the game, he beat this zone, using his max-level god character, Wilhelm. Because Wilhelm was so insanely overpowered, the Guardian happily guided him to the stars with zero problems. I know what you're thinking. He just realized that Dramat only attacks players who are totally weak. Suddenly his eyes light up with a crazy idea. But meanwhile, poor Isabella gets violently thrown aside, completely crashing hard right back into the dirt once again. Sprawled out on the floor, she grinds her teeth in absolute agony, her whole body totally paralyzed. Staring at the sky, she seriously regrets ever trusting this completely useless guy. Right before her eyes, the giant snake's massive tail winds up for the brutal killing blow. Screaming out the ancient snake's real name, our MC boldly orders the huge beast to stand down. Shockingly, the tail freezes instantly in midair, and the massive creature turns to look. Looking totally stunned, the giant serpent glares down at the tiny human yelling at her. Completely annoyed, the boss demands to know how this weakling dared to speak her true name. Flashing a confident smirk, he announces that her legendary master Wilhelm has finally returned. Still paralyzed on the ground, Isabella watches this completely crazy exchange with her jaw dropped. Just as shocked, the giant snake leans in, questioning if this weakling is actually Wilhelm. With a loud mocking laugh, the huge snake completely scoffs at his totally insane claim. Covering his ears, he hears the creature laugh at his current weakness. The big snake then states that Wilhelm was an incredibly powerful and completely perfect superhuman. With glowing eyes, she recalls that her beloved former master experienced a totally perfect death. Roaring loudly, she warns that this weakling isn't worthy to even speak that important name. But suddenly, a massive light totally swallows his body, shifting him into an epic new form. Demanding his old contract back, he immediately gets violently tail-slapped. "Trust me, you'll want to see what's next. You and I are jumping straight into this madness." The monster was furious, demanding how he knew the contract. But our guy smirked. Nobody was supposed to know that secret. See, the contract rules were simple. Whoever grabbed the star became the mountain's absolute ruler, and the Guardian forced to follow every single command. Realizing the game system worked, he knew the contract couldn't touch him. The creature, totally confused, demanded to know who this guy actually was. He just brushed her off, saying the star itself would prove everything. But the beast warned him that Relic absolutely destroyed anyone who wasn't worthy. Still smiling, our MC just told her they'd find out once they got there. Giant Serpent was totally sick of his arrogance, wondering where his confidence even came from. Reluctantly agreeing to escort him, she admitted he was annoying. Slithering away, the massive boss prepared to guide them straight to the objective. Arriving at the ruins, Isabella looked around, doubting the star was actually hidden here. Pointing up, the Guardian showed them a huge towering structure. He pointed straight ahead, declaring the item on the altar was the star. Right there, a creepy skull sat directly on top of a glowing symbol. He dropped some crazy lore, explaining it was actually Ria's face. After the goddess died, her body was split into 32 separate stars. Reaching out to grab the skull, he revealed its real purpose, achieving true transcendence. Now watch closely, because this gets wild. Out of nowhere, the skull shined blindingly bright. Boom! A massive energy explosion wiped out the area. Panicking, Isabella screamed into the dust, asking if he survived that insane blast. Smirking, the serpent claimed the star had completely rejected him, but through the blinding light, a shadow stepped forward, holding it. Looking super annoyed, our guy walked out completely unharmed, holding the star tight. He already knew he was perfectly safe. In this game, death only happened with bugs. Staring at the relic, he remembered that grabbing a star gave you an epic class. Right in his hands, the ancient skull started cracking and glowing. Suddenly, his hidden skills flared up all around him in a golden aura. And from that light, a ridiculous new power awakened, facing pure destruction. System pop-ups went crazy, spamming his screen with all his brand new OP abilities. Soaking in the light, his whole body pulsed with insane energy. Then the ultimate notification hit. He just unlocked the legendary star successor class. Isabella's eyes practically popped out of her head, watching him absorb the relic. Still glowing softly, he turned his attention back to the stunned princess. He flat out asked what she planned to do after he lifted her curse. Without missing a beat, she said she wanted to escape the desert and find family. He agreed to grant the blessing, but classic MC style, there was a catch. Dead serious, he demanded that she serve him for 1 entire year. Flashing to a serious queen on her throne, the vibe suddenly shifted. Standing with her back to the light, Isabella prepared to swear absolute loyalty. Placing a hand right on her shoulder, he got ready to seal the deal. "I know exactly what you're thinking right now." Gripping his hand, she swore she wasn't a liar like other royals. Then, looking completely flustered, she looked away. Dropping to one knee, she officially promised to serve him as her master. Smirking, he praised her for actually using her brain to make the call. Then he called out Dramuth, asking if the star's owner now commanded her. Eyes blown wide, the giant snake was absolutely terrified by the logic. Glaring hard, he pointed straight at the beast and ordered her to bow down. Boom! The system pinged, congratulating him for finishing the quest with an ultra-rare clear. Meanwhile, back outside the dungeon, someone stared into the shadows, looking completely serious. Back in the royal throne room, scouts reported that Isabella raided the sanctuary with a slave. Hearing this, the boss ordered all soldiers to capture them instantly. Cut to the massive player city buildings baking under a crazy bright sun. Fast forward to a sunny coffee shop patio. inside a high-level party was debating if Randolph was actually the legendary ghost player. Now that he was back, they debated making the first move. But one girl sighed, pointing out they've tried tracking him down for years with zero luck. Their master plan: use the in-game auction house as shiny bait. Looking dead serious, she actually considered fishing for this top-tier veteran. Over at the auction, someone listed a rare item secretly slapped with a tracker. It's a classic scam that gets total noobs robbed or murdered daily. But honestly, they doubted a true legend would ever fall for something so basic. Highly annoyed that they doubted her, she laid out her point of view. Smirking, she claimed the ghost wasn't normal, meaning he'd absolutely bite the hook. Still looking completely skeptical, the guild members pulled their phones out ready to call. They gloated about being smarter than the trash players who got farmed. But then, boom, the ranking shifted, completely stripping away the massacre player's privilege. Staring at the massive 230 score, he freaked out over what class did that. And that's where you and I leave it. Seeing the loss, he cursed, being locked out of the shadow auction. You and I are jumping right in. Player massacre stands surrounded by bodies. Ripping a severed head, he promises to slaughter everyone at the very top. Meanwhile, back in the sanctuary, a sudden system alert pops up for our duo. Being the first clearers, they score sweet rewards and a handy teleport book. Smirking, he admits the whole crazy ride actually was not as bad as expected. Right on cue, the system chimes in, announcing his massive experience gain and level up. Checking the glowing window, he notices leveling takes longer now, but the stat boost is huge. Still, he knows those fresh stats are not the main prize here. Crossing his arms, he carefully thinks over the epic loot he just scored. Totally lost, Isabella watches him stretch with a huge grin. He casually drops the reveal. One of those shiny new items is the legendary Cloak of Shadows. Boom, outside, a massive energy explosion shakes everything. With one glowing eye, the great guardian Drameth watches the wild scene unfold. Sneaking through the pitch blackness, deadly assassins silently approach the sanctuary. The giant serpent quickly warns them about incoming intruders. He guesses the Queen's elite pursuit team finally tracked them down. Looking dead serious, she asks what his big plan is. Honestly, even with the Shadow Cloak, he admits winning this fight is a huge gamble. He then bluntly asks why they should bother fighting alongside that giant beast. Now watch this. She is totally stunned that he actually wants to abandon the Guardian. Keeping away, he yells he is counting on the Great Dramuth. The snake's eyes go wide, absolutely panicking at this massive betrayal. The soldiers scream in pure terror at the monster, while he wonders about going solo. Running alongside him, she notes the Queen is not with those soldiers. He explains that getting cornered now means zero chance of escaping this crazy sanctuary. He coldly adds that since the giant Guardian is stuck here, they are bailing. Mid-sprint, he remembers the desert warp gate, but the real threat is still hunting them. Reaching the massive gate, he realizes powering it up will take serious time. Staring at the portal, she sighs in relief, thinking they can finally just leave. He nods but drops the bad news. Activation is slow. When she asks exactly how long, he casually says it takes half a day. Thanks to the Guardian running interference, those enemies are totally delayed. Getting serious, he announces he has to log out and check on the real world. He looks over and asks if she can keep his helpless character safe. Gripping her sword tightly, she gets ready to defend his sleeping body. Standing tall on the parapet, she promises to smash any incoming enemies. The system triggers the logout sequence, flashing a warning to stay safe. Bam! Back in reality, he wakes up groggy in bed right beside his phone. Sitting up, he stretches, groaning that snapping back to his real body always feels super weird. Grabbing his phone, he immediately checks the global news feeds. 0 alerts pop up. Looks like those terrifying monsters have not invaded reality quite yet. He decides he needs to stay grounded in reality to prepare for the crazy future. You and I know game bosses are bad, but this, holding his phone, he is completely shocked to see a text from his ex-girlfriend. Cut to a super sunny day outside a cute cafe. Sitting there, a stressed woman is having a heated voice call argument with her current boyfriend. Nearby, 2 cafe workers stare at the drama, completely stunned. Slamming the phone down, she sharply tells the guy to never call her again. Looking utterly disgusted, she mutters that he is an annoying scumbag. Thinking back on her ex, she realizes he actually used to listen to her problems. Sipping her drink, she honestly regrets being so completely impatient with him. Glancing over, she spots him arriving and happily waves him down. Smiling back, he points out she is early and bluntly asks what she wants. He tells her to cut the fluff, warning he has places to be. Flashing a sweet smile, she teases that he really has not changed one bit. She then casually admits she always loved how he would come running whenever called. Staring right into his eyes, she drops the bomb. She regrets the breakup. She asks if he missed her, but he just stays totally silent. 0 cares, given he completely ignores her trap and grabs a menu instead. Deciding he is done here, he stands right up and says he is out. Desperate, she grabs him, crying that she really missed him. Coldly, he asks if her current boyfriend knows about this little meetup. Her eyes go wide, absolutely terrified that he somehow found out about her guy. He stands to leave, but she screams at him to listen. Suddenly he realizes his game character Randolph's growth is actually changing his real body. Out on the street, her angry boyfriend yells at him to freeze. Grabbing our guy's shirt, the boyfriend calls him a pervert and pulls out a shiny knife. Screaming like a total maniac, the boyfriend threatens to kill him for ignoring him. Terrified, the girl squeezes her eyes shut, waiting for a bloody disaster. But in a flash, our MC casually catches the deadly knife blade bare-handed. Gripping the girl's hair, the guy stammers, asking what he even is. Shooting an ice-cold glare, he orders the punk to stop immediately. Holding that blade, the punk screams at him to let go. "So what do you and I learn here?" He just twists his wrist, making him squeal in pure agony. "Stick with me here, you are about to see just how overpowered he became." Tossing the guy down, he checked on the girl. Shaking, she thanked him, admitting she had absolutely no idea how to repay him for saving her life. Seeing her totally lost, he stared blankly. Then it hit him, this was the exact same woman he had just rescued from danger. Mentioning she looked familiar, he turned around to walk away. But the attacker charged right at his back, screaming and calling him an arrogant jerk. Dodging effortlessly, he spun around and struck the idiot. Grabbing the guy by the head, he decided to finish this right now. Boom, he slammed the guy's face straight into the concrete, getting an instant knockout. Eyes wide in absolute shock, the girl just stood there, totally struggling to process everything. Kneeling, he held his stance completely ready for another attack. A top-down view showed them right on the sidewalk by a car. Right on cue, a cop rolled up and demanded they head to the station, saying they both needed questioning because of the massive brawl. Massaging his temples, he said he had zero time for this. She immediately asked if the cop would take responsibility if things went wrong. Flashing her credentials, she introduced herself as a serious reporter and demanded they back off. Threatening to blast them on the news, she left the cop completely sweating. Recognizing her face, the cops realized she was the hero who recently saved a kid. Feeling the heat, they completely backed down and yielded. Flashing a warm smile, she thanked him again. Handing over her business card, she revealed she exclusively covered Dimensional Warriors. She quickly clarified that Dimensional Warriors were the absolute badasses fighting against the monster invasion. Glancing at the glossy card, he noticed hardly anyone ever name-dropped the game directly. Out of nowhere, his ex-girlfriend came sprinting over, desperately grabbing his arm and asking if he got hurt during the wild fight. Swatting her away, he coldly said he was fine and left. Furious, his jealous ex watched him check his phone. Saving his number, the reporter giggled that his name sounded awesome, flashing a smile and asking him out for coffee. Totally dumbfounded, the ex stood there watching the whole thing unfold. Her face turned red with absolute rage after being completely ignored. Moving on, the reporter strolled down the sidewalk, totally glued to her phone. "Now, pay attention, things are about to shift." Checking notifications as she walked, she finally answered a mysterious incoming call. Telling them to quit calling, she quickly realized she had scored a brand new assignment. Crossing the street, she learned her next target was player Gracia. Meanwhile, Gracia was busy slicing up a massive monster. Flying above the city, he geared up for his next trip to Korea. Heading back to the ominous gate, dead soldiers were totally scattered across the bloody ground. Wiping blood from her injured mouth, Isabella gasped for air, completely drained from the brutal fight. Surrounded by corpses, she and Randolph waited for the gate to power up. Gripping her daggers, she braced for combat. The surviving enemies demanded she surrender the captive immediately. Calling them total idiots, she completely refused to back down. Screaming for the traitor's head, the heavily armed soldiers charged. Despite being surrounded, she stood tall, facing impossible odds. Hanging her head, she looked absolutely pushed to her absolute limit. Suddenly, the massive gate sparked with a brilliant blue glow. As the portal activated, the soldiers froze, totally shocked by what was happening. You saw this coming, right? Collapsing from pure exhaustion, she almost hit the dirt until he suddenly appeared, catching her. Praising her for holding out, he smiled warmly, casually mentioning he just finished a little chat with the literal stars. Furious, the enemy commander ordered the traitor's immediate execution. Vowing to keep his promise, our guy stepped up to protect her. Clenching his fist, he triggered his skill, radiating insane energy. The system pinged, giving him exactly 41 seconds to act. Screaming in pure agony, the frontline soldiers were instantly vaporized by a blinding explosion of light. Swishing his epic cloak, he declared this their ultimate liberation. Staring in awe, she recognized the true power of a star seeker. Smiling, he told her she was totally free to walk away. Looking up with pure determination, she rejected the offer instantly. Smiling warmly, she looked completely satisfied with her choice to follow him. Swearing to stay by his side, they leaped into the portal together. Curse lifted the system, locked coordinates for the central continent. Touching down the system happily welcomed them to Arcana, the legendary Golden City. A warning popped up. Arcana was brutally materialistic. In the bustling streets, greedy merchants traded heavy gold and ultra-rare loot. From a fancy carriage, a wealthy noble silently watched the crowded city streets outside his window. "Here is where you and I leave it for now." Strolling through town, he stressed about money, but she smiled and flexed massive gold. "Let us dive right in." He stared at her giant bag of coins in pure shock. She honestly thought that was barely enough for a single night out. But out here in the desert, 300 coins could buy 10 whole slaves. With bread costing 50 coins, she panicked about their cash. But pointing to the side, our guy just smirked and said money was everywhere. Snapping his fingers, he pointed straight at a massive casino. Her face turned red, completely clueless about his wild plan. Standing right outside, he crossed his arms, looking completely confident. Flashing a grin, he told her to relax, claiming he was naturally lucky. In this city of pure indulgence, there is only one absolute law. Here, cash is king and gold coins control everything. By nightfall, the Hudson Casino becomes the beating heart of the city. Arms behind his back, the manager offers a very stiff apology. He drops the bomb that entry requires a 10,000 gold deposit. Whispering in a panic, she admits she only has 100 gold left. Realizing they are broke, the manager tells them to step aside. But our guy steps up, offering a special item as collateral instead. He reveals the tear of the queen, asking if that covers it. The manager starts stuttering, completely shocked by such a legendary treasure. Instantly smiling, the manager escorts them straight to the VIP room. Confused, she asks what he handed over, and he mentions the tear. Smirking, he casually drops that it is worth at least 1 million gold. But hey, it is just a deposit and he will absolutely get it back. Now, watch closely. Inside, the roulette wheel spins, deciding everyone's ultimate fate. The ball drops, locking in the crazy final bets. Watching him win non-stop, the entire room starts calling him the absolute god of gambling. Staring at his massive chip pile, he has already hit 1,400,000. With massive cash on the line, this winning streak is absolutely legendary. Cheering loudly, she yells that they are rich, but he quickly corrects her. The manager agrees to pay out but permanently bans him. Making things worse, the whole floor starts copying his insane bets. Once the actual owner arrives, the sweating manager finally breathes. Backed by heavy security, the boss orders our guy to leave the building immediately. Glaring furiously, Isabella gets ready for an all-out physical brawl. Playing it cool, he agrees to walk under one condition. Rejecting him instantly, the angry manager demands he just cooperate and leave quietly. Grinning, he mentions he is not the one begging to talk. Cut to the private room where the boss is staring intensely at the tear of the queen. Using the observer hand skill, the boss activates his unique power. After a deep scan, he confirms the tear is 100% authentic. As a relic from the Queen's Knights, this tear is practically impossible to find. Sighing heavily, he mutters that his team searched everywhere without any luck. Right then, an employee radios in about his very special visitor. Shocked, the boss realizes the guy who dropped the talisman demands a meeting. Smiling, the boss figures out this player completely baited him. Cut to the VIP suite, where our guy casually sits on a plush sofa, silently waiting for the big casino owner to finally show up. Walking inside, the boss stares, completely thrown off by his basic look. The owner asks what his earlier message meant. Taking a calm sip, our guy says he was being literal, knowing the boss desperately needed him. He casually asks if the boss still needs that left-behind talisman. Smiling smoothly, the owner claims he just heard about his little collecting hobby. Drinking his coffee, the main character says he is totally open to selling. The boss immediately drops a massive 2 million gold offer. We both see her face right, shocked at that 2 million offer. But crossing his arms, our guy demands a flat 20 million. The boss chokes, saying that could literally buy an entire luxury mansion. He counters that while it is pricey, the boss desperately needs it. Still holding his cup, he makes it clear this is definitely no simple hobby collection. Smirking, he reveals the talisman is totally required to join the council. Completely speechless, the big boss just glares back with deadly serious eyes. He drops the hammer, explaining it is required for their minimum entry requirements. Looking absolutely stunned, the owner freezes hearing his own fiancée mentioned. With a sharp gaze, our guy confirms he knows all about Lady Serengeti. Smiling slightly, she was the only daughter of a very powerful viscount. Known as the White Knight, she joined that massive expedition to save Arcane. During battle, she literally sacrificed her legs to the terrifying Demon King. Back then, he figured her dark fate was just random game lore. But after dying himself, all those missing puzzle pieces started clicking together. Sitting in that bathtub, it hit him, these NPCs were real players. He suddenly recalls the exact warning Serengeti gave him during the raid. When he first got that necklace, he had zero clue about it. Smirking now, he questions if that was the original game design. Because he remembers the lore perfectly, and this boss never even had a fiancé. It clicks, someone definitely manipulated an NPC into playing a brand new storyline. The owner is terrified, wondering how his secret leaked. Trust me, we are about to watch our guy milk this info for everything he can get. Alright, you and I are diving into something hilarious. Raising one finger, our guy plays dumb, claiming some random star just told him everything. Flashing a confident smile, he promises to help the guy get exactly what he wants. The catch: the star decides if he actually gets help. He drops a heavy warning: 0 lies allowed, because this star demands absolute truth. The casino owner looks stunned, hesitating to spill his entire life story. His face turns dead serious. He suspects our MC is a disguised hunter. You see, hunters are lethal NPCs that track down and execute players. Naturally, anyone with half a brain keeps their true identity strictly hidden. but he knew Hudson would bite. Serengeti was way more than just a basic NPC. Staring at a golden locket, Serengeti's face flickers inside. Letting out a heavy sigh, the defeated owner finally agrees to spill his tragic backstory. He kicks things off, saying everything starts with the story of his missing fiancée. Our MC is shocked. Wait, 8 heroes in the expedition. The owner nods, confirming the legendary Wilhelm led a squad of exactly 8 mighty heroes. Eyes wide, he learns the entire grand mission failed because of a massive betrayal. He quickly asks if the owner can name these famous 8. One of them was Gracia, the strongest hero, right behind Wilhelm himself. Meanwhile, a newspaper headline screams, "Who is this crazy guy riding a monster?" Thanking his assistant, Gracia gears up to meet the Korean reporter. His assistant pushes back, arguing the government strictly needs him to stay put. But staring at the photo, he insists he has to confirm something. Smiling, he admits this wild monster rider might just be the old friend he's been seeking. Back in the room, our guy soaks up every detail. We then cut to a bright sunny city with skyscrapers piercing the clear blue sky. Sitting down for a fancy meal, he looks visibly annoyed. His companion asks if the expensive meat tastes bad, but he quickly brushes it off. He's just exhausted from pulling an all-nighter listening to the owner's massive lore dump. Glancing at the crazy menu prices, he asks if this is overkill. Smiling, she insists this expensive meal is nothing compared to the huge favor he did. He stares at her, stunned by the compliment. But pay attention here, things get messy fast when he spots a very familiar woman out back. Yep, it's his toxic ex-girlfriend with her new guy. He instantly remembers their breakup and those photos she stubbornly refused to delete. Shock written all over her face, she mutters his name. But our MC stone cold. He makes it crystal clear they have absolutely zero ties anymore. Chewing his steak, he casually goes back to completely ignoring their entire existence. Of course, the insecure new boyfriend marches over, demanding to know if he followed them. Glaring furiously, he basically accuses our guy of being a stalker. The drama instantly grabs the whole restaurant's attention. Remembering the trashy breakup, our MC flat out tells the guy to stop acting like a total loser. Meanwhile, his ex-girlfriend just smirks, clearly loving all this toxic attention. Pointing a finger, the boyfriend threatens to end him if he ever gets near her. Fed up, the reporter stands up, demanding who he thinks he is. She proudly declares she rented the whole place and calls him out for being massively disrespectful. The rich jerk throws cash on the table, offering double just to make them leave. The crumpled bills violently rain down right onto the reporter's face. Bam, she doesn't hesitate, delivering a brutal punch that shatters the guy's expensive glasses. Dead serious, she calls him an absolute psycho for pulling a stunt like that. Furious and humiliated, the guy yells that she threw the first punch. We all know what happens next, right? He raises his hand to strike her. Eyes wide in pure panic, she braces for the incoming slap. But nope, our MC intercepts, landing a devastating punch right on the guy's face. With a freezing cold glare, he declares the trash talker just crossed the line. Eyes practically glowing with sheer rage, the boyfriend screams insults. Clutching his bruised cheek, he is absolutely losing his mind over being humiliated in front of his girl. Pinning him firmly to the floor, he coldly reminds the screaming idiot that he already told him to stop. The boyfriend is secretly terrified, wondering why our MC is so insanely strong. Desperate and embarrassed, the toxic ex starts shrieking, begging her man to get up. Grabbing his hair, he calmly suggests they take this little conversation outside. Glaring with pure, murderous hatred, the humiliated boyfriend absolutely boils over at being publicly embarrassed. Pulling a strange item from his pocket, he snarls that our MC just messed with the wrong guy. Suddenly, blinding magic light completely swallows the entire fancy restaurant. Boom, a direct flash of energy hits our guy, violently blasting him backward. Squinting at the blast, our hero tries to process what just happened. Around them, terrified restaurant customers panic in absolute confusion. Slashing forward, the boyfriend knocks him away, fully revealing his hidden warrior transformation. Face completely twisted in rage, the armored jerk threatens him, daring him to talk trash now. He launches a brutal counterattack, smashing a heavy strike into the enemy's chest. They both crash hard to the ground after an intense mid-air exchange. Sprawled on the floor, our MC realizes this toxic boyfriend is actually a Pangea player too. But wait, why did his attack barely even scratch the guy? The jerk stands up, activating his trait to reveal his Lancer class. That's our stopping point. Trust me, you and I will love watching our guy humble this pathetic level 4 newbie. Stick with me here. See that level bar? The higher you go, the harder the grind gets. More talents mean crazy strength, but awful leveling speed. And our guy, he got stuck with 0 talents just to scrape by. He hadn't fought a single battle. Just pure dumb luck kept him alive to unlock the Lancer class. He grabbed his logout reward and ditched the game completely. He knew people had unfair advantages, and surviving was an absolute nightmare. His ex-girlfriend pulled her new guy away, whining that the mood was ruined. She basically told our MC to stay away forever, leaving him standing there completely alone. Seeing the guy on the floor, he figured the dude was basically dead meat. Rushing over, the reporter frantically asks if he's okay. Annoyed, she wanted to report the fight, but he completely brushed it off. With glowing eyes, he just smiled and said they should grab food. Boom. A massive earthquake violently shakes the whole restaurant and the streets outside. He felt that rumble and knew exactly what was coming. The entire restaurant floor instantly cracks and completely shatters. Now here's where it gets wild, watch closely. A massive monster bursts right through the restaurant floor. Slapping a hand over her mouth, he whispers to stay dead silent. Absolute chaos erupts as people desperately sprint away from the giant beast. He watches the beast closely. Wait, it actually isn't hunting the living. He explains that this thing only eats corpses, never striking first. Meanwhile, that idiot player from earlier is still screaming in the middle of the room. Panicking, his ex-girlfriend begs her new boyfriend to step up and help. Fear glowing bright, the idiot actually gets ready to fight. Our MC screams at him to stop, but it is way too late. The guy leaps up, stabbing the monster with a single devastating strike. Covered in scratches, he actually thinks he just one-shot the boss. Hands glowing with power, the absolute fool thinks he's invincible now. Charging forward, he screams he'll slaughter every monster alive. The crowd goes wild, cheering for him like some legendary dimensional hero. Smirking, the guy thinks he had nothing to fear. But our MC goes dead serious, telling the reporter to run as far as possible. He orders her to get away from that idiot immediately. Suddenly, a thick red mist completely swallows the restaurant and the street outside. Pitch black. He can't see a single thing ahead. Then from deep inside that fog, a massive dark hand reaches out. Shocked, he feels a hand cover his eyes. What on earth is happening? Out of the absolute darkness, a glowing red eye locks on. A heavy demonic voice demands to know who caused this mess. Exploding with pure rage, it asks who slaughtered its children. Gripping his head, the terrifying creature absolutely drowns him in dark energy. The beast whispers a brutal death curse over everyone. Coughing up blood, the idiot stammers, completely clueless about what just hit him. He looks around wildly, but that thick crimson mist blocks out everything. You feel that tension, right? The guy's spear just floats there. With one glowing eye, the boss prepares a fatal strike. The system flashes a giant warning. The monster's blood just triggered a massive hallucination. An invisible force crushes the guy, making him scream in pure agony. Blood explodes everywhere, instantly flooding the entire floor. Inside that bloody vision, the dead bodies of everyone in the restaurant appear. Eyes glowing red, he panics, completely losing his mind. Glaring down at him, the monstrous boss says he never should have interfered. Gripping his sword tight, our MC demands the beast show itself. The monster just grins wide, flashing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Laughing like a total psycho, the terrifying creature finally steps out. It just stares at him, those glowing red eyes locked on target. Calling him a delicious snack, the monster points a finger right at him. Dead serious, our MC gets into stance against this absolute beast. In the background, the terrified reporter screams his name, completely helpless. Lost in that thick mist, she frantically searches the dark for him. Standing all alone, she screams out, praying for an answer that never comes. Fast and clean, he dodges every strike, slashing back with his sword. He realizes the boss only evolved thanks to that crazy mist. Eyes wide in shock, he knows this battle just jumped to nightmare difficulty. If he hadn't memorized the attack patterns, he'd be absolute ground meat by now. Furious, the monster can't figure out how he's dodging perfectly. The boss realizes this human is perfectly predicting every single move. Face locked in total focus, our MC continues slipping past every deadly strike. The beast roars that fighting back is completely useless. Ignoring it, he leaps high into the air, ready to deliver a devastating counterattack. Eyes glowing bright, he reads the monster's exact evasion pattern perfectly, but suddenly the boss blasts a massive wave of cursed blood. Hand gripping his hilt, he braces himself to dodge the lethal splash. You and I know that touching that blood means instant death. He dodges, but the cursed red liquid completely floods the entire floor. Let's jump right into the madness. A deadly spike erupts from the ground, and he barely dodges the hit. Furious, he prepares for an incredibly brutal showdown. Standing on a giant tentacle, he watches the beast move from afar. The monster is actually impressed, praising his insane dodging skills. But with a twisted smile, the boss mocks him. Running away is completely useless without attacking. Oh, don't worry about that. Gripping a glowing talisman tight, our guy promises the beast is about to get hit hard and fast. He tries equipping his epic boots, but the system flashes a brutal warning stats too low, so he slaps on the brand new armor and helmet instead. Decked out in fresh gear, he gets ready to unleash absolutely everything he has. He hates using that promised tear just for this armor. Luckily, his epic boots actually lower the annoying stat requirements by 20%. Activating swiftness, he blasts forward to keep his promise. He weaves right past the massive tail, raising his sword for a deadly counter. Eyes totally locked in, he predicts the monster's next strike. Leaping back, he narrowly evades another wild swipe. He lands so hard, the solid floor literally cracks beneath his foot, perfectly setting up his counterattack. Launching forward, he spins mid-air, completely wrapped in a blinding golden aura. With one perfectly fluid motion, he's ready to unleash pure destruction. Boom, he strikes, landing a surgically precise hit right in its giant eye. Screaming in agony, the beast calls him a filthy rat. Suddenly, dozens of razor-sharp spikes erupt from its entire body, locking onto him. But he doesn't flinch. His blade becomes a blur, slicing the incoming spikes into absolute confetti with lightning-fast, perfectly timed slashes. Staring death in the face, he braces for the next hit. But bam, the giant monster lands a massive blow, sending him flying backward. He crashes into the stone wall with bone-shattering force. Gritting his teeth, he forces himself up, fighting through the insane pain radiating across his body. Gripping his sword tight, he refuses to back down. Then a system alert pops up, full armor set bonus activated. Glorious glowing wings burst from his back, completely changing the game. Now, watch closely. The boss reveals its final, most deadly trick. Roaring loudly, the horrifying beast unleashes a massive blood tornado. His eyes narrow. He knows this is the absolute final attack phase. He braces his core, ready to tank the ultimate strike. Flying right through the raging storm, he weaves past the deadly blood blasts perfectly. The arrogant beast laughs, claiming this attack is totally unavoidable. Screaming in pure rage, it calls him a pathetic rat and unleashes hell. Deep inside the vortex, thick, dark red energy completely surrounds him. Suddenly, his boots and armor trigger an insane synergy effect. The monster is completely stunned as a huge gust of wind blows away the mist. Safe inside his glowing armor, he finally takes a deep breath, recovering his stamina. With its moveset exhausted, the boss enters a vulnerable stagger state. He instantly dashes forward, knowing this is the perfect window to strike. Panicking, the beast literally begs him to stop, but nope, game over. With one devastating thrust, he drives his sword straight through the monster's skull. Twisting the hilt, he jams the blade even deeper, securing the epic kill. Covered in blood, he ruthlessly fulfills his promise to stab right between its eyes. The system screen pops up, confirming the boss kill and cleanup timer. Meanwhile, the young woman stares in absolute shock, asking if the nightmare is finally over. Slowly turning around, she stares at the mysterious hero in epic red armor. You and I know exactly who's under that hood. But as she remembers being saved, before she has no idea who this masked hero is, she chases after him, begging him to wait and asking if he remembers her. Keeping his cool guy act, he simply tells Miss Hana she's safe. She desperately reaches out to talk, but his cape activates and he vanishes instantly. Totally startled, she gasps out loud, completely struggling to process what just went down. Left alone in the massive ruins, she just stands there, totally confused. Crunch. Footsteps break the silence as someone approaches. She quickly turns around just as a very familiar voice calls out her name. Jogging up with a goofy smile, our MC happily says he finally found her. Taking panic, he asks if she's hurt. She nods, saying she's fine, but her eyes scan the area with major suspicion. Acting totally clueless, he sighs in relief, claiming he never expected an ambush like that. She asks if he's injured since he's staring at his hand. He quickly laughs it off as monster blood, right before realizing the blood is only under his fingernails. Squinting hard, she points out his clothes are perfectly spotless. Only his fingers are bloody. Walking beside him, she notices how unnervingly calm he is, and flat out asks if he knew about the boss. Sweating bullets, he stays dead silent for a second. Scrambling for an excuse, he stammers that he's actually super terrified of terrifying monsters. We both know she isn't buying that terrible lie. Stick with me here. She was seriously suspicious, linking his excuse to her missing savior. Next day, the sun shined through the clouds. Days later, boom, another dimensional war dropped near a building. Warriors warned these attacks would keep coming, begging the government for some backup. Streets stayed completely empty. People were too anxious to go outside, while television news slammed the government's weak response. Meanwhile, several big players gathered in a meeting to discuss this mess. One guy pointed out how the first invasion was totally calm, but now it was pure chaos. Another argued the last attack only felt real to the victims, calling the whole thing totally illogical. Glancing at a girl on her phone, he noted the government tried forcing normalcy because the attacks just made zero sense. But now he stressed that everyone knew these rifts could absolutely return. A leader declared it was prime time to launch the Player Alliance heroes. With rival guilds plotting too, they had to recruit fast. Analyzing a blurry sword photo, he admitted it was tough to tell, but maybe that was Randolph. And one guy scoffed, wondering how a level 4 or 5 scrub could afford such crazy expensive shoes. Another guessed he probably just used a rare talisman, but they absolutely needed him on their team. The boss added that this guy showed up right after Phantom vanished, pointing straight to Randolph. Staring intensely, the leader emphatically declared they couldn't trust any rival guilds, and absolutely had to recruit him purely to prevent the next rift from opening up. The scene cut to an impatient-looking man stomping right up to another. "Fuck," the guy yelled, asking if he actually used the Fairy Queen's tears. Annoyed, he demanded his missing item. Super irritated, the dude snapped back that he only promised help, not the priceless Queen's tears. Flat out stated he didn't need talismans for his goal, ditching the item to avoid handing out fake hope. Watch closely now. The suspicious guy asked for another way, radiating some heavy distrust. Smirking, he invited the skeptic to follow along, promising hardcore proof as the three walked into the pitch-black unknown. Once the path finally cleared, a creepy passage to the sewer dungeon appeared. Strolling deeper inside, he explained they desperately needed a waypoint in Arcana to completely dispel the distrust. Flashing a handy teleportation book, he complained about annoying exploration rates. The woman immediately panicked, asking if they were crazy enough to run this dangerous dungeon with 3 people. Man freaked out, shouting the mutant rat boss demanded 6 level 8 players. While he yelled, Randolph casually stepped forward, his flashy shoes stealing the spotlight. He knew the risks but noticed her worried red eyes. Suddenly, the spiked mutant sewer rat emerged, a true 6-player nightmare. You and I both know what that glowing red rat eye means. Battle time. The beast slammed its massive paw into the ground. A huge green explosion blasted outward, packing insane power. The trio scrambled to dodge the expanding shockwave. Sweating bullets, the guy warned about the rat's crazy speed. Plan was cornering it with 6 players. Seeing its eye diving in unprepared felt like total suicide. Out of nowhere, Randolph ordered Isabella to make her move. Catching the signal, she dashed forward instantly. The guy could only watch, stunned by the girl's insane speed. Randolph didn't flinch, claiming speed meant nothing if you just memorized the boss pattern. This crazy flex only worked because Isabella's combat skills were absolutely top tier. Shocked, the mustached guy watched the fight unfold in pure disbelief. Next, he called Hudson, who looked completely terrified by this chaotic situation. Staring him down, Randolph promised to keep his word, begging him not to doubt. If he said it worked, it simply worked. Mind-blown, Hudson just stared with wide eyes, completely processing those bold words. A subordinate reported to the captain that there was 0 trace on the cameras. Confused, the captain totally compared this clueless situation to being bewitched by a ghost. Deep in thought, the captain flat-out refused to visit some dude who had clearly lost his marbles. They showed an armless patient, revealing he went completely insane from the trauma of his massive loss. A tight close-up on his face highlighted his absolute immense despair. Walking along, they brainstormed about Kim Hana. One guy suggested waiting by the station entrance. A guy warned against provoking her. Why Gracia, the strongest player in Korea, was doing an exclusive one-on-one interview with Kim Hana. While cameras flashed, the serious-looking blonde guy finally introduced himself as Gracia. Reporter Kim Hana introduces herself pleased. Trust me, you'll love what's next. Alright, you and I are diving into pure chaos today. One guy asks about love while the captain wonders why Gracia met a reporter. He quickly realizes that ticking him off means breaking their alliance. Pure danger. Bleeding out on the dirt, the guy begs to know if it is over. Wounded and confused, he yells that player killing is totally banned, but the attacker just scoffs, saying Gracia ordered them to prep for an invasion. Furious, he screams that if Gracia finds out, they are all completely dead. The attacker sneers, plunging his sword in and telling him to beg Gracia. Suddenly, a creepy shadow rises from the ground. The cloak drops as the ranking updates. Looking at those insane points, the guy figures out Randolph is actually the infamous Phantom. He figures Phantom is heading straight for the main challenge and vows to track him. He swears he will personally end Phantom's life. Cut to a totally different scene with a bright, sunny, picture-perfect sky. Boom, a massive multi-headed beast crashes down with crazy impact. The dust settles, revealing 2 tiny figures standing right in front of it. Now watch this flex. Smiling, Randolph claims he just got lucky registering the dungeon. Finally, the giant boss hits the dirt while the trio watches. Randolph proudly holds up a glowing, freshly dropped monster core. It is a mutant rat core, perfect for evolving pets or crafting epic gear. He figures this will speed up Hydreigon's evolution perfectly. Brushing off the fight, he asks Hudson about the casino, which Hudson confirms handled. Hudson cries about losing the casino, but admits an alliance with Serengeti is totally worth it. He decides to trust the Saint, knowing nobody leaves a casino unguarded for no reason. We see Isabella, who soloed the monster like an absolute boss. She seemingly notices everything. He realizes Randolph is basically a walking cheat code, an opportunity he cannot pass up. Right on. Randolph grins, promising she will never stress over money again. Still confused, Hudson asks where on earth they are even going. Still smiling, Randolph hints at a masterpiece that will grant her wish. He drops the bomb, the spiritual tower where main quest 3 starts. Welcome to the sunlit, mysterious forest. Hudson looks around totally unimpressed, asking if this basic-looking forest is actually the place. Dead serious, Randolph says this is no normal forest, leaving everyone super confused. Staring upward, he announces it is the spiritual tower entrance, home of the legendary spiritual tree. He explains a spirit was born there, making it the only gateway into the hidden spiritual realm. We have to use this exact path to reach the tower. He thoughtfully touches the bark. You and I did not see this coming. The tree cracks. It has been dead forever. The forest is literally dying. Drawing his blade, he admits this is definitely not the smartest move, but he has zero choice. Panicking, the guy screams, asking what he is doing with that weapon. The gleaming blade is raised high. Locking onto his target, he swings with absolutely everything he has. The man and woman flinch, completely stunned. With one massive, devastating strike, the sword slices the giant tree clean in half. Timber. It slams down, exposing the cracked stump while the squad just stands there speechless. Freaking out, Hudson asks if he can just chop it down. Randolph ignores him completely. Hudson remembers that tree was their only entrance. Suddenly, something insanely fast shoots right at them. A blinding streak of light. The woman instantly parries, throwing herself over Hudson. She blocks the worst of it, but still takes a hit. A hidden archer praises her decent reflexes. Out steps a gray guy, a level 9 great dryad. They stare in pure absolute shock. Nowhere to run. The dryad smirks, claiming he almost let them walk by like normal lost tourists. Now he is furious about his chopped tree. Backup arrives several level 7 forest guardian dryads. Sweating, the woman counts at least 50 monsters surrounding them. If they rush in, it is game over. She needs to save the saint. Randolph steps up like a boss, admitting he did the chopping all by himself. Calling him a total lunatic, the angry dryad yells that the cut forced him out of hiding. Totally chill, Randolph tells him to come down for a chat. The dryad says no and knocks an arrow. You gotta see this ending. Annoyed, Randolph asks if he'll just watch the forest die. Stick with me here. The dryad's eyes go wide in pure shock. Pointing his sword, our boy Randolph straight up declares he's going to revive this dying forest. He reminds the tree guy that 0 spirits have been born lately. Without one, this whole place is doomed, so he pitches a deal. Open the spiritual tower's door and he will personally fetch a spirit for the forest. Laughing, the dryad scoffs. How could an inferior being like him possibly enter the tower of the chosen? He explains it is totally impossible. You need insane talent, endless quests, and super rare opportunities. Thinking it over, he adds that barely anyone ever gets in. At Randolph's current level, totally impossible for an average player, but Randolph just orders him to open the door. He activates his nature affinity, promising to save everything. Suddenly serious, the dryad asks again if he can really save them, but the other dryads are furious, screaming about lies. They threaten to end him and destroy the spirit tree. The whole crowd goes wild, demanding the intruders be wiped out. The lead dryad just stares in silence. Even the archer screams to take them down. A single raised hand halts the attack. The other dryads freeze, exchanging super confused looks. They don't understand the order. With a dead serious gaze, the dryad warns Randolph to keep his promise. With total confidence, Randolph swears he always keeps his word. He will bring a spirit back. The dryad bluntly promises to kill him if he fails. The dryad tells the crew to follow him, taking the lead while everyone nervously trails behind. Watch closely right here. They step into a sunny clearing, walking right up to a pile of stones, radiating a brilliant light. Dryad explains the grim truth. Since the forest is dying, opening the gate requires using the remains of the stone spirit. He warns that failing means becoming literal tree fertilizer. Randolph just grins and asks what he gets if he actually succeeds. Locking eyes with him, the dryad promises to give him a completely fair reward. Smiling, Randolph reads the system prompt. Return the spirit to the forest. This battle is going to be dramatic. Dryad channels his power to unlock the gate. Surrounded by a blinding glow, he announces the portal is finally opening. Boom, a massive explosion of golden light transforms the entire area. Silhouettes step out from the glow. The intense light hits everyone's faces. The gateway to the spirit tower is open strictly for authorized players only. Looking around, a very confused Hudson asks where the heck they are. Randolph casually explains they are inside the portal but still need permission to enter. Totally confused, Hudson asks who gives them permission before suddenly yelling at something completely unexpected. A tiny golden spirit floats by sporting a cute little flame. Hudson actually asks if they should try and catch the little guy. Randolph just stares at the spirit, carefully analyzing the situation. The golden little blob seems to be thinking deeply, taking a moment to reflect. His eyes flash bright green. Randolph activates his druid affinity, directly feeling the tower's magic. The spirit asks if they are friends. Randolph smoothly replies that yes, they are completely trustworthy. You and I saw this coming, right? The spirit allows entry but makes them climb the tower completely solo. Isabella confidently says she will be back soon as she gets ready. Suddenly, Hudson starts screaming that his entire body is fading away. Looking a bit spooked, the spirit explains time flows differently inside, so he can ascend without stressing. Wishing the party good luck, it straight up vanishes into the shimmering light. Main Mission 3 begins. Climb the tower for performance-based loot. Suddenly, a massive dark door appears, leaking an insanely creepy purple aura. Randolph eyes the door, muttering that this tower of spirits actually feels familiar, but this weird gate confuses him. Normally, to enter the tower, you pass through a portal that perfectly matches your specific elemental affinity. Since Hudson has water magic, he got the water gate. Isabella definitely faced the wind gate. But Randolph has never seen this element before. Is it because our boy possesses literally every single affinity? Glowing eyes on that weird purple gate stare back at Randolph intensely. Looking closer, he realizes this thing holds every element, even the ones that shouldn't naturally mix together. First, he guesses it is the void element. But no, this energy is way more complicated. It is pure chaos. The literal gate of chaos. Suddenly, a massive beam of purple light blasts him. A system voice rings out. He unlocked a completely unseen gate, warning him to be super careful. It warns that if chaos devours him, it is game over. Still, our guy steps forward without a second thought. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Even after grinding Pangenius for 5 straight years, Randolph is still discovering terrifying secrets like this Chaos Gate. Let's dive right in. Being the ultimate veteran, he knew this game completely, yet some wild secrets remained. Difficulty was absolutely insane, but that just pushed him to break past his limits. He smirked. That insane challenge was exactly why he loved this mysterious game, Pangenius. Gripping his blade, he realized the Chaos Gate had opened for the very first time. Fired up, he swore he would be the absolute first player to crush this ultimate challenge too, white hair blowing wildly in the wind. A guy named Wilhelm stepped up, glaring with a crazy, intense, piercing look. Randolph totally froze, recognizing Wilhelm and wondering why he was the boss. Wilhelm swung his blade, blasting out golden light. Randolph barely managed to dodge the flashy strike, but the sheer shockwave hit him hard, making him cough blood before Wilhelm struck again. Randolph was stunned by Wilhelm showing up, but he had to fight the number one. He accepted the crazy challenge. Winning was his only option now. Panicking slightly, he braced himself to face this seemingly invincible boss. Wilhelm stood ready, completely covered in a terrifying dark aura. Getting slapped around, a furious Randolph screamed that Pangenius was totally unbalanced garbage. Throwing on some shiny new armor, a helmet, and Hermes boots, he took another hit. Luckily, the fresh gear meant the cut was barely a scratch. Staring down his enemy, he carefully studied the guy's physical build. Watch closely here. His gear activated new skills. Clashing up close, Randolph realized they looked weirdly alike. Boom! A solid hit sent Wilhelm flying backward through the air. Randolph's heavy strike shook the entire battlefield. Squinting through the dust, he kept his eyes locked dead onto his struggling opponent. Our boy jumped high, slamming his sword down on Wilhelm, but the boss dashed back, dodging the heavy hit. Quickly, countering, Randolph planted a clean kick right into his face. Trying to read the room, he watched the boss like a hawk. Then Wilhelm actually spoke, asking if he wanted his old glory back. Charging right at him, Randolph yelled, "That was impossible." Flicking his wrist, he geared up for his next big combo. He smacked Wilhelm, demanding to know what that even meant. The boss just glared back, the battle heating up fast. Following up with a nasty punch, Randolph called him a fake. Wilhelm crashed down badly, hurt and bleeding everywhere. Staring down at his defeated rival, he struck a winner's pose. Needing a quick fix, Randolph chugged a health potion. The magic drink restored his stamina, getting him totally hyped to keep fighting. Gulping it down, the sweet juice worked instantly, jacking up his health. Smug as ever, he bragged about buying tons of potions using casino money. Wilhelm just stared at him, looking both shocked and serious. Thinking about the massive bill, he admitted he would have totally died without that crazy shopping spree. Cut to a totally different place, a massive skyscraper baking under the hot sun. The interview finally wrapped up. The nice lady told him he had to be exhausted after traveling such a long way. She politely thanked Mr. Gracia. Playing it cool, Gracia brushed it off but said he had one super secret question. The interviewer blinked, asking if it was for her, expecting something basic. He pulled up an article by Kim Hana about the guy who builds monsters. Gracia leaned in, demanding every single detail she knew about him. Let's pause right here. We cut back to bodies everywhere after an absolutely brutal battle. Right in the middle, Randolph stood surrounded by defeated mobs. He was dead, tired, but still on his feet. Grinning, he realized he just clapped over 100 dudes. He knew his insane potion stash was the only reason he lived. Tossing the empty bottle, he just wanted the stage clear notification. Taking a few steps, he walked right up to Wilhelm's corpse. Suddenly, he noticed the dead monsters melting into thin air. Peeking out slightly, a weird toothy blob popped up above him. This chaos thing said it liked him, wondering if he was human or a druid. Looking at this creepy spirit, he asked if he finally beat the whole tower. The chaos blob laughed like a total villain. A bunch of tiny spirits joined in openly roasting Randolph. Completely baffled, he listened as the little gremlins told him to stop dreaming so big. Moving forward, they dropped a bomb on him. The real tower hasn't even started. Staring at a massive light wall, he realized they were totally serious. Chaos kept teasing him, betting he couldn't clear it since those last guys were basically tutorial mobs. Behind that wall, thousands more enemies. Chaos swore nobody could ever beat this. Trust me, you and I need to see what he does next. As he stepped up, Chaos asked his plan suddenly, offering a shady magical contract. Stick with me here. Our guy just snagged a wild proposal for an epic secret skill. That glowing red sphere, proof the tower gives loot based on your trial. Clear the wind trial, boom, you score a wind spirit egg for a shiny new contract. So naturally, stepping into the chaos trial, he fully expected a chaos egg as his prize. These eggs are insanely rare. A chaos egg is peak tier loot, and honestly the spirits are already begging him for a contract, so he wonders. What could be behind that door? Something even crazier than a chaos egg. Stepping into the light, a voice mocks him. Foolish choice, it says. Time to pay up. Thousands of chaos illusions are waiting behind that door. Fighting them all, basically a death sentence. 0 potions left. Total nightmare. But guess what? He already memorized every single enemy attack pattern. Spotting the figures, he just smirks. Potions, yeah, he doesn't need that kind of help anymore. Running the exact same pattern he's seen thousands of times, he fearlessly pushes to clear the tower. The shadowy boss completely baffled as our guy powers up. Here's the part you need to watch. A massive smile flashes, suddenly blinding light blasts from the ground, and a voice admits it loves fools like him. Bam, he is teleported to a chaotic golden dimension, absolutely glowing with endless floating stars. Where the heck is he? But then ding, a system message pops up. Main quest complete. He finally reached the very top of the tower. The glowing entity actually congratulates the crazy guy for ascending, confirming his friends are totally fine. He stays dead silent, just letting that insane revelation sink right in. Wait a minute. Was all that talk about the real trial starting just one massive lie? Weapon raised. He knows these chaos spirits are absolute masters at messing with your head. Staring down that glowing door, he finally understands their chaotic logic. Hearing the offer, he reaches out his hand to claim his hard-earned reward. Crazy energy instantly wraps around his hand. The Tower of Chaos is officially totally unleashed. If the trial ends right here, no hidden gimmicks, that Chaos Egg is the ultimate prize. He grabs the sphere. System confirms it, the legendary Chaos Spirit Egg is finally his. But wait, you saw that too, right? His eyes widen in pure shock. Dark energy suddenly bursts from his hand. Glowing floating feathers appear, a massive hidden trait, revealing a literal celestial presence. Ding. Another notification pops up. He just scored a freaking celestial spirit egg. Holding that glowing ball of feathers, our guy is totally stunned by this absolute mystery drop. Total confusion in his eyes. He has literally zero clue what is even happening right now. The stats drop. It is an unknown realm egg, and only true celestials can actually hatch it. Wait, the realm's race is celestial. Holding this egg basically confirms he is one of them. Is this tied to his hidden trait, or is it just a title linked to the actual celestial race? He asks the glowing figure for details. The response, that is definitely no ordinary egg. Even the Spirit King, the literal god who created Pangea, is interested in it. Our guy is totally blown away. This egg clearly has absolutely insane value. He tosses it into inventory to check later. Then bam, system says the tower is officially cleared. Constellations are boosting his loot. Staring at the alerts, he remembers the Temple of 100 Stars. A constellation interested in Dramuth's sanctuary just boosted his epic rewards even higher. He is shocked. He really didn't expect those 5 arrogant gods to care this much. These temple constellations are massive deals in Pangea. They hand out massive quests and multiply loot drops. Game lore says they absolutely love a good story, so they ate up his chaos run. Because of them, the reward tier is off the charts, picking 2 items out of 20. Absolutely mind-blowing stuff. Right after Isabella and Hudson show up, they actually cleared the tower too. Isabella scored a wind spirit egg, and Hudson bagged a water one. Egg drops are random, but Isabella lucked out with 2. She promised one to the super serious dryads, vowing to release it. The dryad's face stayed totally deadpan, just waiting for that promise. So where does that leave us? The dead forest can finally revive. Stick with me here. The dryads totally hooked them up with mandragora, an ancient herbal elixir. Everyone else was just staring at it, completely clueless about what this thing actually did. They handed it right over to Isabella for giving them the egg. Major power boost incoming. System alerts spammed his vision, updating rankings and mission rewards. Meanwhile, a massive beast dragged their carriage. Randolph got the specs on Guardian Wall level 11, giving him 30 seconds of pure invincibility. He let out a huge sigh of relief. With that privilege unlocked, he felt totally safe. The crazy part, while grinding in Pangea, that wall literally protects his real body back home. Scale Fragment had 72 hours left, though honestly he really wanted way more time. Hudson then called Randolph over, looking totally dead serious. He thanked him for the gift, planning to hatch it soon to fix his issues. Randolph agreed, knowing a spirit makes things way easier, and suggested buying an incubator. When invited to tag along, Randolph was told they would absolutely back him up. Smirking, Randolph thanked the guy for the company as they kept moving. Hitting the city, they took in the sprawling rooftops, everything bright under the blazing sun. Pointing around, Hudson asked where they were, following Randolph through the crowd. "You're going to love this panic attack." Hudson froze, screaming in pure horror when he recognized the main street. Randolph shushed him, which only made Isabella super curious. When Isabella asked why he was freaking out, she learned they were entering the Marquis territory. Big reveal, Hudson's absolute nightmare of a fiancé lived right there, hence the panic. Begging to leave, Hudson whined that he definitely wasn't ready to propose to Serengeti. Randolph calmly explained he needed a favor from her. But looking down the dead street, he suddenly saw multiple people passed out cold. Marching down the creepy road, they pushed forward anyway. Grouping up, they stared at a massive, intimidating monument sitting under the blue sky. Spotting the huge crowd, they figured some kind of solemn memorial service was happening. They asked if he recognized any names carved there. He didn't know a single one, but he knew exactly what wiped all of them out. 500 names on that stone. All brave knights who had joined his massive expedition. Watching everyone cry, he honestly wasn't shocked that he couldn't remember a single name. Let that sink in for a second. To him, they were just basic NPCs, literal background pixels. He had to accept this was a game. Falling to her knees, one mother screamed for Wilhelm, begging to get her son back. Another sobbed for Xian, crying about how he swore he would return home safely. Stepping toward the stone, Isabella grabbed his attention, asking what he was doing while everyone sobbed. An older woman's face completely broke down in agony, screaming questions through endless painful tears. And boom, a sudden stroke hit her. Randolph rushed in, catching the poor grandma right before she hit the dirt. Holding her up, Randolph listened as the panicked crowd yelled that Grandma May fainted. Looking up quickly, he checked on Isabella, making sure his companion was still good. Scooping her up, he bolted for the medical tent. Inside the Goddess Church station, he spotted one specific guy among the chaos. Hudson noticed the insane number of patients but realized something totally different was off. The clinic was completely understaffed, which made absolutely zero sense for such a major city. Hudson muttered about terrible management. Then a smiling churchman walked up asking if they were the outsiders who carried Sister May. Glancing at the grandma, he praised their kindness but weirdly claimed it wasn't even necessary. Nodding along, Hudson agreed with him. But catching the guy's sketchy expression, he instantly asked if there was a problem. The dude casually demanded donations for the clinic, asking for a ridiculous 50 gold coins. Randolph immediately called him out, asking if he was illegally charging medical fees. The temple guy defended the gold, arguing that civilian salaries were basically a joke anyway. Getting defensive, the man claimed they had zero choice, making things super tense. Randolph coldly asked if Father Andrew actually approved this. Crossing his arms, he called a bluff, saying Father Andrew would never pull a stunt like that. So what do you and I make of this? A corrupt priest serving the twin goddesses. Stick with me here, because this supposedly wise NPC was known for giving out special honor quests. Randolph was totally confused. Was Father Andrew seriously begging for secret donations? Looking around the city was a mess. Crumbling buildings, homeless folks, ruined clinics. What happened to this rich town? Meanwhile, cut to a table covered in empty booze bottles. Someone is partying way too hard. A guy practically begged his lord, saying he was already wasted trying to intervene. Furious, the lord smashed a glass, screaming at the guy to back off. Still raging, the lord told him to shut up and kept drinking. This drunk mess, it is Marquis Weiser, leader of Knight's Garden. Anyway, Randolph finally asks to meet with Father Andrew. The cloaked guy refused, but got interrupted when Hudson was called away. Suddenly, Randolph tossed a heavy cloth bag, leaving the guy totally clueless. Bam! Inside 50,000 gold coins. The poor guy's jaw practically hit the floor. Randolph stepped right up and offered to double it if they brought him to Andrew immediately. Absolute shock. Now watch this. Those gold coins literally reflected in the greedy guy's giant starry eyes. Guiding him to the priest, the kid promised immediate VIP service, practically begging for the extra cash. Scene change. A gorgeous sunlit indoor library with massive wooden shelves, stuffed with ancient books. Father Andrew calmly introduced himself, clasping his hands together. He offered a seat and asked to chat, which Randolph agreed to right away. Sitting down, the priest brought up that insane clinic donation. Randolph casually confirmed the massive flex. Apparently you needed to drop some serious cash just to meet the guy. Classic pay to win. Andrew asked if his greed was disappointing, making things super awkward for Randolph. Curious, Randolph asked how a massive city clinic could be struggling this badly anyway. He pushed further. How on earth did a place like this go totally broke? The priest brought up Sister May, noting Randolph had carried her in after she collapsed. Randolph nodded. Andrew explained her tragic backstory. Her son left town a long time ago and literally never came back. They weren't the only ones. Tons of knights followed Wilhelm away and vanished without a trace. The war took their best people and wiped out their wealth, but they could have bounced back from that. But here's where everything changes for us. Serengeti, the Excellency's daughter, suddenly came back home, except she returned without her legs stuck in a coma. Every priest tried to wake her up but failed miserably. Desperate and impatient, the Excellency got played by scammers, tanking the city finances entirely. He took out a gigantic loan using the whole city as collateral. Pure downward spiral. Because of that, all funding got slashed. The clinic might shut down soon. Had to beg for cash just to survive. They literally had nothing left. Randolph asked if her coma was mental or physical. The priest admitted physical injuries were easy, but this was a nasty curse way beyond their holy healing pay grade. Thinking about this dark curse, Randolph realized the blessing of the stars might work. He thanked him and stood up casually, mentioning he had an appointment with Marquis Weiser. Andrew froze. Wait a second, the priest warned. The Marquis is a total hermit and rejects all visitors. Offering to set up a meeting later instead of refunding him, Andrew tried stalling. But Randolph had zero time. With a smirk, he told the priest to keep the cash. It was money well spent. Right on cue, someone yelled from outside, asking if Father Andrew was in the room. A guard barged in. The Excellency demanded the rich donor come to the clinic immediately. Randolph smirked at the priest. See, money opens every single door. He waved goodbye and started walking, but the priest yelled out, making him stop dead. The priest thanked him for helping, but Randolph brushed it off, saying the donation was no big deal. No, not the gold. The priest meant saving Sister May. This totally caught Randolph off guard. A tiny rare smile actually showed up on Randolph's face. He thanked him for the reunion and walked away looking dead serious. Reunion. The priest was super confused by what Randolph just muttered under his breath. Scene cuts to a massive fancy mansion sitting right under a bright blue sky. Isabella and her knights are waiting outside. You and I are definitely ready for this. Stick with me, we're looking at the craziest job interview ever. Randolph waits at a long table while a bearded guy intensely sips his drink. Staring holes into our boy, he thinks about that insane 100,000 coin donation. Is Randolph a merchant, but he has zero cargo? Apologizing for dragging them here, the bearded man drops his name, Weiser, boss of the Knight's Garden. Randolph realizes Weiser looks completely different now. Back in the day, this guy was a legendary knight with insane skills. Thanks to Wilhelm Weiser's daughter, Serengeti, basically leveled up to godhood, becoming a transcendent being across Pangaea. She instantly became one of the continent's absolute heavyweights. And Weiser, he always used his sword to repay both favors and grudges. Was it his body or his mind that broke? Randolph isn't sure, but Weiser is clearly totally different now. Knowing exactly why he was called here, Randolph bluntly points out the Knight's Garden is dead broke. Then he drops the bomb he will cure Serengeti. Weiser's eyes snap wide open, completely stunned. Bursting into loud laughter, Weiser admits his mistake. He honestly thought Randolph was just some spoiled rich kid. The vibe gets heavy as Weiser asks if they know the rumors. Looking desperately worried, he asks how much money the cure costs. Out of nowhere, boom, a massive fist slams right into the table. Smashing the wood, Weiser yells that he's been scammed before losing everything. What else does he have left to sacrifice? Furious, Weiser orders his men to throw the scammer out. But Randolph just smiles and calmly says he doesn't want money. Now watch closely. He admits he can't guarantee a cure, but he will absolutely try. Hooked, Weiser asks what he actually wants. Randolph smoothly explains he's here to pay off a debt and collect one simultaneously. Dropping his real identity, he claims to be Wilhelm's successor. He demands to see Serengeti, promising to treat the sick girl. Weiser just laughs bitterly, totally doubting this succession claim. Looking defeated, he mutters that fakes show up constantly. Thinking Randolph is another fraud, furious, Weiser orders him killed. Instantly, a guard raises a deadly blade over Randolph. But our guy just watches, totally ready for the attack. With insane reflexes, Randolph casually blocks the lethal strike using a freaking teacup. Telling them to prep a room, he leaves the guard completely stunned. Weiser watches in absolute shock at this raw strength. Stepping up, Randolph vows to prove he is Wilhelm's true successor. Cut to outside, where Weiser and a spectator watch closely. The scene jumps straight to a dusty arena, showing two lone figures standing in the distance. Freaking out, his friend asks why a sudden duel is happening. Randolph just scratches his neck, wondering how things escalated so fast. Randolph quietly stares down his opponent. The guy is decked out in full heavy armor, completely blessed by a high priest. The knight arrogantly tells him to confess his scam and beg for mercy. Playing it cool, Randolph asks him to keep his identity a secret when he loses. Laughing hard, the cocky knight gives his word. Then the enemy rushes in, swinging his heavy sword. Randolph admits the guy's speed actually isn't terrible. The relentless assault keeps coming with the knight, launching another fierce strike. You and I both know jumping is risky, but Randolph leaps to dodge. He quickly realizes this knight's stats outrank his. The insane gear difference makes this dangerous. Raising his massive blade high, the knight brings a crushing blow right down on him. Fully focused, the knight pours all his raw power into the swing. Randolph just grits his teeth, readying for the crash. Brutal strike lands dead center, creating a massive bone-rattling shockwave. Taking the heavy hit, Randolph stumbles back. But get this, he literally stops the sword guard with his bloody forehead. Seeing that fearless smirk, the knight finally realizes this kid isn't faking. Pushing the blade against Randolph's head, he calls him a total madman. Watching the blood drip, the knight insults his messy dodging skills. Watching nearby, Weiser explains he's seen countless wannabes claim the successor title just for clout. But the legendary swordsmanship of His Majesty is completely impossible to fake. Unless you demonstrate that exact technique, you're no successor. Meanwhile, the knight openly admits Randolph feels way different from all those frauds. He's got real talent. Bleeding from his head, Randolph just chuckles, telling the fully armored knight to calm his ego. Flustered, the knight says he only wore the heavy gear because Weiser ordered it. Lightning fast, Randolph strikes back, making the big guy flinch. In one smooth motion, he jumps right onto the knight, pinning him. He unleashes a brutal counterattack, maximizing his weapon's power. The pinned knight can only watch with wide, shocked eyes. So where do we go from here? He tosses his old weapon, equipping an extreme iron sword to finish this. Let's dive right into this. Weiser and the knight are completely stunned seeing two swords. Hudson just questions when he even acquired such weapons. Bam! Randolph unleashes an absolute barrage of lightning-fast strikes. The knight panics, the attacks are getting way too fast. He desperately blocks with his armor, sending bright sparks flying everywhere. Randolph realizes the blade is super light, casually checking out its rocky design. Knight assumes heavy swords would do way more damage, since these dual blades aren't even scratching him. But Randolph keeps swinging, realizing it's easier to strike his weak spots. Shock hits the knight hard. Suddenly, his own blood is flowing. Swapping gear, Randolph pulls a new blade and charges. Flashing a cocky grin, he tells them to watch closely. This is the Night King's true power. Boom! A blinding light wraps around him, swapping his gear into full battle armor. A glowing system screen pops up, offering multiple reward options. The system drops a proficiency correction, and the extreme iron sword flashes on screen. Sure, its base stats are pure garbage, but the bonus effects, straight up hacking. Randolph immediately activates the extremity perk for using extreme tier items. With the extreme iron sword in hand, he shouts out that it worked. Hitting level 10 sword proficiency, he perfectly copies Wilhelm's legendary moves. Randolph charges, slashing the knight with terrifying speed and precision. This endless combo totally shocks the knight as he frantically tries to block. Now pay attention, this is where the knight realizes he is doomed. The swordplay makes zero sense. He knows momentum shifted, desperately needing to retreat. He tries to run for it, but Randolph's blindingly fast blades completely trap him. He tries pushing forward, but Randolph's heavy blade effortlessly knocks him completely off balance. Mind blown, the knight can't believe a style like this even exists. It feels like Randolph isn't just trapping him, he's literally controlling the entire space. Face something impossible, and your brain stops working. Hudson, Isabella, and Marquis Weiser are standing there absolutely stunned, the knight taking the beating completely paralyzed. Terrified out of his mind, he freezes up, eyes wide with pure, absolute fear. Night King Wilhelm's ultimate move, Heaven and Earth, finally unleashes. A massive shockwave of dust and wind explodes outward, launching debris everywhere. Randolph just goes all in, landing, devastating strike after strike with his blade. Clang. The knight's sword drops to the dirt. Game over. Bleeding heavily, he finally swallows his pride and admits total defeat. The guy collapses completely crushed. Randolph strides forward like an absolute boss, shouting to the crowd, asking if anyone else wants a piece of him. A soldier calls a shell-shocked Weiser. Snapping out of it, Weiser yells for Lucas, who instantly responds, showing total submission. Bowing deeply, Weiser orders them to escort Randolph with the utmost respect possible. Still bleeding, Randolph just smiles. He's officially recognized as Wilhelm's true successor. Cut to a young woman fast asleep since the Great Expedition. Weiser sadly explains that literally nothing, not even elite healers, can wake her up. We both know OP heroes always have a trick, right? Randolph stares down silently until a sudden spark in his eyes reveals a hidden talent activating. They quickly recognize the Demon King's curse, planning a risky exorcism using pure stellar energy. Openly admitting the terrible odds, he warns everyone he will try this crazy method just once. Gently touching her forehead, Randolph locks in and starts the intense healing process. Unleashing the stellar blessing, his ritual surrounds everyone in the room. Seeing this absurd power firsthand, Weiser's jaw basically hits the floor in pure awe. Warning that this would drain every drop of stellar energy, Randolph pushes forward, completely determined. But get this, even that energy wasn't enough to shatter the whole curse. It just temporarily lifted the limit, giving them a tiny window of hope. Slowly opening her eyes, she looks around completely confused and understanding nothing. Quietly asks where she is while everyone just stares. The other guy in the room absolutely losing his mind over this unbelievable miracle. Weiser slowly approaches the bed, asking if Serengeti has actually finally woken up. Thinking awake, she hears Weiser ask if she remembers him, but she actually says Hudson's name instead, totally catching Weiser off guard. Confused, Weiser turns and asks who this other guy even is. Hudson just stands there looking incredibly awkward and painfully uncomfortable. He softly apologizes for being late. Looking right at her, Hudson apologizes again, calling her Serengeti. Inside his head, he's flashing back to his selfish plans to gain fame just by nursing her. We see her on the ground, fiercely fighting on, even after losing a chunk of her body in battle. Pushing her wheelchair back then, he solemnly promised eternal care for her entire life. But that arrogant belief completely shattered, exposing a massive mistake. As time passed, Serengeti just grew weaker, her life force slowly draining away. Her once incredibly strong arms now looked just like dry, lifeless branches. So where does this leave us? Drowning in deep regret, Hudson begs for forgiveness again, while Weiser fiercely questions who he really is. Alright, stick with me here. Her furious dad demands answers about their relationship, but our guy just mentions the curse. Resting in bed, they are left terrified, wondering if she'll ever wake up again. He breaks it down. Her mind has 1 month left. To shatter this curse, she desperately needs another star. Boosting her energy and hunting down 5 stars is critical. He urgently needs to snatch up a warrior's memories before anyone else does. 1 star is already secured, leaving 4 more to hit the goal. He tells everyone to clear the room. He needs to speak with Serengeti alone. The two sit down, bracing themselves for a heavy, serious talk. Her dad brings up the marriage promise, and he firmly confirms the union. Jaw clenched, her father is absolutely furious. He gives a brutal warning: our guy will never see his daughter again. Begging for one last chance, he swears he will become completely worthy. Her dad brings up those insane expedition costs, and their desperate search for backup. That's when Duke Cyan's family swooped in, offering cash. The catch, they demanded Serengeti for the loan, and even if she never wakes up, he accepted the Duke's shady deal. So in exactly 1 month, his daughter gets shipped off to Duke Cyan. To protect this land, he must also forget her. Sitting beside him, she asks who he really is. Now watch closely. He drops a bombshell, he's King Wilhelm's successor. She snaps awake, denying it. He loves that she doesn't just buy empty talk. She remembers the day he saw a star, terrified that consuming it would completely rewrite her identity. Flashing back, she thinks about how incredibly anxious he was back then. Thinking back, she understands wanting to protect her love for Hudson. But how does he know a secret only she and Wilhelm shared? He remembers giving those encouraging words. Her eyes completely widen in pure shock. Looking back, she hears her name called out. Wilhelm barking orders to shut up and grab something. Tears fall. It's really him. Asking his name, he admits his looks changed but promises to explain more. He remembers hyping Serengeti up, but as a player, the details were blurry. Thanks to the Star Successor class, he absorbed those ancient memories. That original pep talk, it wasn't actually him. It came straight from King Wilhelm. Wilhelm rarely spoke, making those words a massive leap of faith. She warns him to watch out for hunters now. Players possessing bodies and keeping memories are sinners, but mostly he wants to know his final moments. That fateful day, he was dead sure he killed the Demon King. He blasted light into its core, and the body disintegrated. But in that split second, something felt off. Everything froze at the climax. He blacked out right after having zero clue what went wrong. Then came game over. With his character face planted on the dirt, he simply died. I know you're wondering too. He begs Serengeti for the raw truth, what really caused his death that day. Wilhelm led 200,000 elite soldiers with insane morale. They prepped for the demon realm using every scrap of intel available. A flawless strategy was locked in. Zero room for error. Everything looked absolutely perfectly planned. Spoiler alert, nothing went to plan. Only pure destruction remained. In the war zone, a heavily wounded Serengeti drops to her knees, staring up at the sky. An ally screams to keep moving, offering to be the sacrifice. Frustrated, her friend hits their limit, begging her to advance. Collapsed on the dirt, she yells that there's no time to stop and begs her to run. Crying Serengeti admits it's over, but begs them to finish his work. Despite massive sacrifices, the mission was brutally difficult. They couldn't even reach the Demon King. A brutal defeat was absolutely certain. Dead bodies rise up like zombies. All across the dirt, more snarling monsters crawl out. They attacked like they read the script, screaming traitor. The entire expedition was imploding from the inside. Looking back at the start, she realizes this insane mission might have been impossible from day one. But wait, a bright light flares. The monsters freeze as a powerful glow erupts. Boom, the intense light explodes, shattering the earth. A shadow steps out casually, noting how tired she looks. With a sword chilling on his shoulder, he tells her to rest. He promises it'll be over soon. Hearing this, she is completely stunned. It's the Night King, the literal god of war in the flesh, an overwhelming aura. Unmatched strength. Trust me, you and I aren't ready for him. Stick with me, here you are about to see one single attack completely rewrite this landscape. Even feeling totally defeated, Serengeti just watches him. Just using a sword, he actually shattered all that absolute hopelessness right around them. With this dead serious look, he is absolutely ready to fight. We see these two just walking through this totally wrecked, devastated zone. Serengeti claims she's fine and shouldn't go further. But Wilhelm, he completely insists on helping to save her energy. She then asks if they are the only ones alive, getting an update about the wounded at the entrance. Wilhelm warns that if that is true, she absolutely needs to make it home alive. He brings up how she cried over some guy named Hudson, but Serengeti totally denies it. But yeah, in her own head, she admits she absolutely cried. Looking completely determined, Serengeti swears she will go back to see him again. Now watch closely. A massive glowing magic circle suddenly drops right on the ground, purple symbols everywhere. Serengeti is totally startled, eyes wide open. Wilhelm just gives this wry smile, finding it hilarious. He chucks the girl away, realizing the difficulty just spiked. Screaming out loud, Serengeti yells for Lord Wilhelm, looking completely heartbroken and desperate. Looking super serious, Wilhelm tells her to go back, get married, or date somebody. Have a good life. He literally tosses her far away. Thinking to herself, she genuinely believes she can survive this even if the mission tanks. The Night King saved her. So honestly, nobody will blame him for coming back alone, seeing how insane this battle is. Showing a photo and wanting to see someone again, she is just hunting for a normal life. Walking through this pitch-black place, Serengeti talks about her hope to escape alive. Then suddenly, bam, she appears right before Hudson. Apologizing, Serengeti steps up, her voice just loaded with regret. Screaming Hudson's name, she instantly swaps positions. Realizing something went terribly wrong, Wilhelm's eyes snap wide open. Boom, a massive explosion blasts sparks everywhere. Heavy smoke swallows the area, creating dark shadows. Looking completely horrified, Wilhelm violently screams Serengeti's name. From way off, Wilhelm stares at Serengeti on the ground. She looks totally lifeless. Lying in bed, she mentions surviving, thanking Wilhelm for that clutch elixir. Thinking about the game, he notes, things got ridiculously dramatic. After that, Wilhelm slaps a talisman on her to hide from the Demon King. Remembering that exact talisman, she starts asking about what happens next in the story. I know what you are thinking, game over. The Demon King actually shows up and gets defeated. Wilhelm just freezes time, totally stopped for him. Looking absolutely miserable, the huge Demon King violently writhes. Stepping up against the shadows, this badass warrior appears totally ready to strike. The Demon King is shocked, never expecting a 5-star transcendent to corner him, but he warns this is a fatal mistake for the Night King. Hitting the Demon King, Wilhelm hears that his physical body can break but never his essence. Absolutely furious, he screams about respecting the Night King. Even with his body wrecked, he promises to steal a brand new vessel. Rushing at Wilhelm, this dark essence tries to eat the warrior alive. A shadowy vortex spins up, then boom, it flashes with crazy golden lights. The Demon King is totally baffled, having zero clue where this blinding light is coming from. Spotting a woman's silhouette inside the glow, Wilhelm instantly recognizes Fina. The Demon King curses her furious, she is stealing his night. Screaming, Wilhelm gets swallowed by light, feeling insane pain. Roaring in pure rage, he swears to wipe Fina out. Sitting near her later, he admits he remembers literally nothing after that. So basically, the Demon King tried hijacking Wilhelm's body, but Fina jumped in and blocked it. Thinking hard, he wonders what actually happened back then. The scene cuts to the knight's garden walls under a perfectly clear sky. Complaining about shifts, a guard says they've been working way too much lately. The other guy chimes in saying paychecks are late and everyone wants to quit. Agreeing with his buddy, he realizes the delay rumors are true. Turning, he asks why his friend got completely quiet. Suddenly, a massive danger sign pops up ahead. Whipping around, the guard sees something absolutely terrifying. Screaming in panic, he yells that monsters are on the horizon. Charging non-stop beasts rapidly climb the terrain. Yelling in terror, the guard screams about a massive monster wave attacking the city. A long time ago, a war between light and darkness ripped through Paginia. This red-eyed demon absolutely owned the battlefield, terrifying literally everybody. Right in the middle of this crazy war, the goddess Rhea died, a super tragic, devastating turning point. You and I saw this coming. The whole continent gets completely swallowed by profound, inescapable darkness. After that disaster, the continent split apart, completely blocked off by a massive shadowy void. To fix this, they dumped insane money into building shiny new teleportation portals. Stick with me here. People use these to travel, but broken portals spell absolute disaster. These broken gates link straight to the dark space, dumping out nightmare monsters. Seeing the deadly threat fast approaching, the guy absolutely panicked. Spotting the absolute unit of a monster, they screamed. Yeah, the threat was very real. A massive wave of giant beasts just kept pushing forward, completely wrecking the entire area. With monsters swarming, the city is basically on life support. But let's cut back to Serengeti's room for a second. Piecing things together, Randolph realizes the Demon King totally tried to possess him, and Pina stepped in. Completely lost, he tries to figure out this mess. Suddenly, a blue system screen pops up during frozen time, keeping the Demon King alive. Serengeti watches all this play out. Turns out game NPCs completely ignore the time freeze. Then a massive game over screen flashes, meaning he probably lost his chance to capture the boss. So the guy who actually destroys the Demon King's core isn't the original user, but the new player who just dropped in. Dying in-game turns you into a player though. Wilhelm had died before. The catch: you only become a player when your absolute strongest character gets permanently wiped out. A total hardcore gamer, he used to roll tons of characters before just ditching them. Now watch closely. He finally figures out his next move, and it's the only logical path forward. First up, the traitors who ruined the expedition, acting like know-it-alls. The legendary hero Serengeti led the charge, but the whole thing crashed and burned because of backstabbing. He swears to hunt down every last scumbag who got in his way. Zero exceptions. Second big issue, the Demon King is definitely still kicking since his core survived. Smashing that boss is the final goal to finally put an end to this madness. Out of nowhere, someone calls him the Holy Awakener. He's super confused until a panicked Hudson screams the city is in danger, begging for answers. Hudson yells that they are under full attack. Panic sets in as massive flames swallow the area, leaving the group staring at pure chaos. In the distance, soldiers clashed with beasts through heavy smoke and fire. Fighters threw down against the enraged monsters, spilling blood all over the streets. Isabella points out the monster wave is pouring from a broken warp. Randolph gets super annoyed, guessing Weiser probably blew all the portal repair budget on garbage. Cavalry units rush the monsters head-on, launching a massive, perfectly timed counterattack. He quickly notices Marquis Weiser leading the charge with his heavily armored knights. Weiser is shocked to bump into Wilhelm's successor here. Surprised he hadn't left the city yet, our guy immediately asks for a status update. The Marquis admits the city is totally crushed, with 3 different warp gates failing. 3 portals at once, he is absolutely losing his mind. Weiser practically begs for his power, saying they desperately need a heavy hitter right now. A side quest pops up to defend the city right alongside a main quest to seal the rifts. I know what you're thinking. Did the system lose its mind giving quests right now? Weiser screams their guards can't hold the line. Losing all logic, Hudson desperately begs him to save Serengeti's precious land before it falls. Randolph quickly calculates the absolute worst-case scenario for this total disaster. They are surviving because it's just basic mobs right now. But in exactly 10 minutes, a hybrid boss drops, and it means instant game over. Nobody on the field, not even him, has the stats to survive that. To stop the boss spawn, they have to smash all 3 gates under 10 minutes. The problem: the team is painfully short on raw firepower. Regular guards are fighting hard, but there just aren't enough to block the swarm. It's a crazy high-risk gamble, with horrible odds of winning. But skipping it means losing access to the overpowered Golden Rule shop forever. The timing is absolute garbage. Jumping into a main quest with 0 prep is suicide. The smart play here is to run fast and never look back. Why throw his second life away on a totally doomed city? The pressure is insanely heavy. All around him, desperate people are sprinting and screaming for anyone to save them. Brave fighters threw themselves straight into the meat grinder to hold the line. Terrified, a guy reaches out as a shadow monster creeps behind him. Nearby, a little kid cries out in the middle of the bloodbath. Through the slaughter, savage beasts tackled innocent civilians straight to the dirt. The girl screams for her mom in total despair. Randolph clenches his fist, eyes locked in pure determination. Trust me, you're going to want to see him fight. Stick with me here, father. Andrew is saving a wounded man. Hopping on his horse, the Lord orders his knights to follow. They push forward together, riding out to intercept the monsters chasing down the priest. Blades drawn, they are ready for a real fight. With one brutal swing, he slashes the monster, sending dark blood flying everywhere. The Lord tells the priest to get on the horse and run immediately. I cannot leave yet, the priest mutters, dragging the injured guy through the madness. Suddenly, an axe-wielding monster appears, putting the old man in extreme danger. Screaming Father Andrew's name, he watches the terrifying scene unfold before him. Isabella drops perfectly timed strikes, protecting the fallen while blood splatters everywhere. The Marquis is totally stunned by her insane skills. The priest asks Isabella if she is okay. Meanwhile, some survivors finally push forward, escaping the chaos. Gripping his sword tight, he warns them this mission is basically suicide, offering them a chance to quit. Flashing some potions, Randolph steps up to protect the territory with his power. Looking down, she complains about this miserable trip, only to get told to shut up. Seeing the injured survivors, Isabella admits they desperately need help right now. He knows this mission is absolute madness. Nobody in their right mind would ever agree to do this. Taking the job, Randolph makes it super clear he is not doing this out of pity for anyone. Right in the middle of the rubble, a massive engraved stone reveals ancient history. Now pay close attention, he admits. He loves crazy challenges, demanding everyone listens to him right now. From this second on, the squad stands their ground against the massive horde. The monsters charge in hot, but he promises to carve a bloody path through them. Shouting a command, the Marquis rides out, swinging his sword and leading the knights. Meanwhile, the entire city falls apart under the demon assault, while civilians panic. One of his guys questions the Marquis, asking if charging in like this is really worth the massive risk. A soldier calls out the Marquis' name in sheer panic. Sure, it is basically a suicide run, but the Marquis knows they have to try. Staring at the crew, Randolph yells for their attention, completely locking in his crazy plan. Right here, right now, the team faces down the monstrous wave. Monsters swarm them completely, but he promises they will slice right through. The Marquis asks if a frontal assault is really the move, warning that their power level means total annihilation. Randolph casually fires back, asking if he has a better idea. You see it too, right? They have to break that portal outside, or this monster wave never stops. Promising a clear path, the Marquis stares down the threat. Gripping the reins tight, he screams for them to push forward, leading the epic charge. Pushing the speed limit, he screams at them to never slow down for anything. Charging straight ahead, he yells to keep moving, facing down the massive beast, destroying the entire city. Looking totally shocked, the Marquis admits he actually trusts them, especially Lord Wilhelm's successor. For battle, Randolph looks at Weiser, praising the guy for running without literally dying. Locking onto the target, Weiser measures the distance perfectly. Aiming his deadly spear, he shouts that they are finally within striking range. Winding up for a brutal strike, Weiser smashes the enemy, flexing his insane power. A giant monster growls back, ready to attack. Pulling out a teleportation book, he pops open a portal for exactly 30 seconds. While this happens, the city gets wrecked as the towering beast stomps forward. Over in Russell Forest, the druid stares at the portal, ready for action. He loudly declares he is repaying the forest's kindness, calling out to a true friend. Recognizing their ally, the druids step up with confident, badass smiles. The druids unleash their magic, granting the request instantly. A crazy storm of arrows rains down, smashing the monsters with heavy damage. Completely mind-blown, the Marquis demands to know where this epic help came from. Stunned, the Marquis admits he never saw the Dryads coming. Talk about a wild ace up his sleeve. Randolph smiles, remembering the awesome Russell Forest sub-quest reward. Flashing back to that quest, he remembers giving away a wind spirit. Dryads never betray their friends. Ready to see the power of friendship in action, Randolph happily waits for their backup. Fully trusting his new squad, he grabs his bow for the showdown. The druid spots monsters blocking the gate. Figuring out the plan, the druid just casually steps up, using crazy magic to blast the path wide open. Charging up his wild energy, the druid promises to blow the entire road wide open. Boom, he fires a massive energy beam that wrecks the enemies and blasts the castle. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. Stick with me here. Boom. A magic blast blows a path wide open, slamming a monster and sending blood flying everywhere. Sliced right in half, that attack was absolutely devastating. Dust and debris scatter everywhere, leaving nasty trails of blood all over the ground. Right then, massive chunks of earth fly up. Something gigantic just smashed into the ground. Watching this absolute madness, two armored warriors completely freeze. One guy is so shocked he can barely even spit out a full word. Down below, that giant monster is totally reduced to ash. Everyone starts celebrating their epic victory. Riding his horse, the Marquis gets super hyped and declares it a win. But Isabella shuts it down. They still need to destroy the rift. Randolph chimes in. Yeah, the path opened up easily, but that thing was literally a boss monster. Raising his sword high, the Marquis grabs everyone's attention. He stops the party fast, warning them that this crazy monster wave is far from over. Laying out the plan, he reveals they only have 6 minutes until the hybrid shows up. Destroying those rifts is priority number 1. To stop this disaster, he announces they are splitting into 2 units, completely shocking one of the warriors. Time is ticking. Randolph warns they absolutely cannot leave any rift undefended. Sure, the Dryads might slow down the monster army, but a ton of them still guard the rifts. As several knights march across the plains, he makes it clear 2 units is their absolute limit. Getting the logic, the Marquis asks about the leftover rift. There is 0 time to backtrack. Processing this nightmare, Randolph gets super serious, thinking hard. Now watch this move. He suggests just him and Father Andrew take the last rift, completely shocking everyone with his insane idea. Completely confident in his own skills, Randolph insists this crazy move has the best survival odds. He reminds them again. Smash the rifts before that hybrid boss drops. Faster is better here. Totally conflicted, the warrior decides to just trust the guy who got them this far. Banking on that faith, the fighters rush forward to hit their targets fast. Isabella tells Hudson to stop doubting. Randolph always has a backup plan and always pulls off the impossible. He will definitely win. This time, Isabella states with total trust. Priest asks about the strategy and gets a blunt reply. Just the 2 of them smashing the rift. Asking for a second of quiet, he brainstorms a fix. Meanwhile, Weiser, Isabella, and Hudson speed off to handle those 2 other rifts. But here is the massive problem. A Dark Warrior mutant monster is waiting at that final rift. This specific boss-level threat, yeah, they definitely cannot leave it for the other teams to handle. With Andrew buffing him, they might clear it in 30 seconds, but any mistake drops those odds fast. Honestly, they just have to believe in the crazy plan. Roaring loudly, the Hydra Dragon suddenly shows up, proving they actually stand a chance. Time keeps ticking down. With rifts breaking, the hybrid is almost summoned. Sprinting full speed, Isabella closes in on her target. They are out of time. Hudson sprints toward the portal, while the countdown ticks away. You and I both know this is bad. Creatures pour from the rift. The hybrid boss spawns and the clock shows just 34 seconds left. Randolph realizes the basic win conditions are actually cleared. Just 1 rift left, but then the heavy aura of a mutant monster lights up the whole spot. Stepping right out of the portal, the mutant monster reveals itself. Boom! A massive explosion shakes the ground. The Dark Warrior mutant stands there, gripping a giant sword, completely ready for the final showdown. With a single target left, Randolph tightens his grip on his sword as raw power erupts. Flexing their auras, the duo gears up to smash the very last rift. Sprinting fast, he gets word to use the final available teleport spot. Seeing the clock hit 0, he realizes that last teleport is strictly locked to Lord Wilhelm's successor. Activating a wild hidden feature, a massive celestial dragon instantly spawns right behind Randolph. Eyes locked on the prize, Randolph looks absolutely determined. Triggering the boots of Hermes, he launches into the air, flying way faster than his enemy. Gripping his sword tight, he braces himself for this absolute life-or-death clash. Clashing with the Dark Warrior, he fights hard to block the heavy strike, but Randolph gets blasted away, leaving a huge crater trail. Taking that insane impact, he barely manages to balance himself. Growling like a beast, he looks completely enraged. Launching a brutal counterattack, the multiple heads of the dragon snap forward together. Taking heavy damage, the colossal dragon starts cracking and falling apart, but surprisingly, all the smaller creatures get completely wiped out. After destroying the Hydra, a 24-hour cooldown warning pops up. Worse, the Dark Warrior walks out of the rubble without a single scratch. Wasting absolutely zero time, Randolph just charges straight at the boss. Boom, he lands a massive head-on strike with insane force. Both ready their iron swords. Trust me, you want to see this. Alright, stick with me. We are about to witness pure sword-fighting madness. The enemy backs off fast, but they instantly clash again, trading lightning-fast strikes. Meanwhile, the priest quickly heals up that busted arm. But the monster, it is not letting up, charging straight back in. Randolph gets blasted backward, realizing the clock is ticking down. Looking up, the priest spots the beast in the distance. Bam! The monster appears out of nowhere, jump-scaring the priest. His eyes go totally wide in pure shock. Sparks fly as Randolph and the beast trade heavy, bone-crushing blows on the spot. Meanwhile, the poor priest practically stumbles into the creature's lap. Pushing forward, this dark warrior wipes out the mobs with a single savage swing. But wait, hundreds more are swarming in. Randolph locks on his eyes, darting to the side as he tracks the enemy's crazy speed. He triggers his level 1 star strike, smashing right into the massive horde of monsters. Sprawled on the dirt, the priest can only watch this absolute path of destruction. Gripping his twin long swords, Randolph gets ready to blitz the main boss. Completely locked in, he ducks down and studies his target. Beneath him lies pure darkness. With just 11 seconds left on the clock, he crosses his blades and goes all in. Boom. A massive explosion rips through the center of the battlefield, kicking up a colossal dust cloud. The sheer shockwave of that impact violently sweeps across the entire area, blinding everyone. When the dust settles, fresh drops of blood splatter the ground from that brutal head-on collision. Watch closely, this is where it gets wild. Randolph gets caught by the sword. Even after hitting him, the monster is confused. Seizing that tiny opening, Randolph viciously stabs his blade right through the enemy's foot. Flashing a super evil grin, Randolph tells him he is not going anywhere now. Hearing this, the Dark Warrior looks genuinely shocked by his absolute audacity. Then Randolph screams out Father Andrew's name, grabbing everyone's attention. Clasping his hands together, Andrew starts praying. Randolph immediately orders him to cast the prayer of reverence. Demands the priest direct that buff exclusively at him. Flashback to a bit earlier, they were rushing in with just 4 minutes left on the clock. Sweating bullets, Andrew asks if they can actually pull this crazy mission off, clearly doubting it. Randolph just stares at the glowing portal while the priest panics, saying they are totally out of time. Totally frustrated, Andrew demands to know why it is just them two. If they fail, literally everyone is dead. Randolph casually asks if he actually wants to save the city. Andrew snaps back, saying of course. That is when Randolph tells him to use the prayer of reverence. See, this specific prayer is basically the ultimate act of devotion to their holy goddess. But if you use it to buff another person, that target gets a massive power spike for a brief moment. Here is the catch. Casting it on someone else means the priest is literally abandoning his goddess. You and I know how insane that is, right? Forcing a holy man to ditch his faith. It is basically like ripping his own heart out. The loss he feels is absolutely crushing. It is like his entire universe just shattered into pieces. Basically, this forbidden prayer forces the caster to literally gamble everything they believe in. Randolph is asking him to toss away his whole life's dedication. Super confused, Andrew demands to know how he even found out about this technique. Because it was supposed to be a strict secret, Randolph brushes it off, saying who told him does not matter, only that Andrew understands the cost. Knowing all this, Randolph calculated that only the priest's ultimate sacrifice could save them. Since the holy man would never abandon innocent citizens, Randolph knew he could not refuse. Clenching his fist, Randolph basically emotionally blackmails him with the city's safety. Despite the tension, Randolph thanks him and Andrew respectfully bows his head. Andrew admits that without Randolph pushing him, he would carry that guilt forever. Poking up, the priest actually thanks him, tears welling in his eyes. Randolph is honestly caught off guard by this raw emotional reaction. Proving he is a true saint, a blinding holy aura erupts all around Andrew. With deep respect, Randolph confirms the ultimate buff is finally active. He absorbs this godlike energy, but the crazy part, it only lasts 2 seconds. Now fully supercharged, Randolph can perfectly mimic the skills of a legendary warrior. Glaring at the monster, he smirks. If this were a normal fight, things might be different. He raises his blades, admitting this special move was never meant for mere monsters. Raindrops start falling, signaling his ultimate attack is locked and loaded. Unleashing the epic Knight King's Sword technique, he blitzes straight at the beast. The Dark Warrior instantly feels the crushing pressure of this new power. Putting everything into one world-shattering strike, Randolph unleashes absolute hell upon him. With the brutal fight finally over, the druids stare up at a totally clear sky. Watching the clouds part, a mother and child look completely amazed. 2 guys stare up in pure shock. Andrew gazes up as the prayer ends. Trust me, you will want to see what happens next. Stick with me. Randolph cancels his star strike, completely destroying the portal. He casually announces the city is safe right at the buzzer. Mission accomplished, and our boy Randolph just bagged a sweet level up. Flashback time. The priest remembers bumping into Wilhelm, the legendary Night King, years ago. Desperate, the priest begged for help. Down on his knees, tears streaming down his face, he pleaded for absolutely anyone to save his poor little girl. Then he showed them Andasar, cursed and completely mutated into a monster. He kept her locked in the basement, hidden from the world. But with her demonic energy spiking out of control, he just couldn't handle it anymore. Searching the shadows, he needed a heavy hitter to purify her and keep quiet. Eventually, a system prompt popped up asking if he would accept someone with honor level 100. Looking up, Wilhelm's face was dead serious. He simply told the priest to lead the way, leaving the poor guy completely stunned by the fast yes. The camera pans up, showing off the massive, intimidating ceiling above them. Then he glanced down at the cold floor. Andasar was right there, fully transformed into a terrifying beast with glowing red eyes. Wilhelm asked if this was the girl. The priest nodded, desperate. Without hesitating, Wilhelm took the job and promised to purify her. And here is the twist you need to see. Night King Wilhelm actually saved them both. With that done, the Legion of Darkness vanished into the abyss, slamming the portal shut. Back in the present, the priest asked how Randolph knew Wilhelm's sword moves. Smiling, Randolph claimed to be his disciple while unequipping a game item. Shocked, the priest realized his master's student just saved him. Then blood suddenly poured from his mouth. What a wild twist of fate. But before he could process it, a brutal pain hit him, coughing up more blood. Randolph sprinted over, shouting for Father Andrew. Looking at the bleeding old man on the ground, he frantically asked if he was all right. Andrew groaned that his old illness had flared up again, desperately using star power to stay alive. Seeing things go south fast, Randolph knew he had to pull out a wild card. He reminded Andrew about the massive debt he owed his master from back in the day. Startled, the old man admitted he owed him everything. Randolph casually offered to clear Andrew's sins using a special indulgence item he had. Triggering the item, a massive wave of holy power blasted right into the priest. Holy indulgence is a super rare pardon given out only 3 times ever. Legend says it completely wipes away any sin through the goddess, avoiding only the 10 cardinal evils. You and I know how annoying game penalties are. This resets toxicity. Plus, they do not even have a physical form. A contract with Dramit counted as faith, so he forced the system to honor the deal. Absolutely furious, the guy started cursing, demanding to know how he found out about it. Suddenly, his star power started flowing back. He realized the issuer's item actually worked. Honestly, he only threw it out there hoping for a glitch, totally shocked that it worked. Confused, the old man asked if another high priest had given him that indulgence. Randolph played dumb, saying he would definitely remember that. The priest then asked him to pray together, but Randolph was sweating he couldn't expose his Wilhelm identity. For a second, he seriously considered just punching the old guy out to skip the conversation. Right then, Isabella galloped up on her horse, screaming his name. Saved by the bell. He smirked, knowing this was his perfect escape route. He waved goodbye, claiming his ride was here. The priest begged him to stay, but Randolph just winked and told him to consider it a little miracle from above. Pulling up the quest leaderboard, our boy Randolph was sitting pretty at rank 1. He gave a quick thanks to the Dryad for saving them. The Dryad just smiled, saying that is what friends do. They all swore to protect each other even in toxic air. Once the dust settled, the city started rebuilding with Hudson's deep pockets paying for literally everything. Hudson threw cash at top alchemists to fix the distortion and stop future corruption. Andrew got his star power back but was benched for rest while potions healed everyone. Putting the massive potion bill, Hudson snapped, asking if he was just a walking bank. He asked why they wouldn't use the money to heal Serengeti. They sighed, admitting she was out cold again, totally consumed by that nasty curse. Sizing up the problem, Randolph tossed a shiny bottle across the room. Catching it, the guy stared in absolute shock at an elixir of blessings. Mind blown, he asked where it came from. Randolph just said to give her 1 drop every 2 hours and her legs would completely heal. Hudson asked if he was a gamer using the cash shop, which he confirmed. So what do you and I take from this? The rank 1 player is definitely Randolph. Alright, stick with me. Randolph created tons of famous characters, but this legendary player just completely vanished. Feeling super awkward about that legend title, he quickly apologized for hiding his actual player status. Hudson asked what to call him now. The answer, just keep using the exact same name as always. When questioned about buying stuff, he bragged about snagging first place, scoring massive golden rule time. Apparently, the city's terrible combat power totally boosted his score anyway. Checking the Golden Rule shop, he realized these wild items were absolutely vital for his upcoming crazy journey. White King's Fang, Black Magic Grimoire, Dragonheart. He spotted some seriously insane, completely unique materials there, especially that White King's Fang. Even as Wilhelm, he barely made it out alive without one. Since equipped items register in the shop instead of disappearing, his time was way more valuable than expected. Announcing his next crazy mission, he told Hudson to watch over Serengeti. But that immediately exposed a huge problem. Hudson dropped a bomb. Marquise Weiser actually agreed to trade Serengeti to House Zion just for a loan. Now pay close attention. Maxim, one of 8 legendary heroes, backed House Zion. He couldn't fight them alone. Totally knew Maxim, that terrifying mercenary commander, remembering his own desperate escape through the swamp. Planning to fight all 8 heroes, he knew Maxim was up first. He told Hudson to buy some time until he got back, swearing Weiser could hold the line. Promising to return super fast, he aggressively demanded they never hand Serengeti over to those guys. Hudson looked worried. He explained, Serengeti doesn't fight, but she is completely trustworthy, totally shocking the guy. Smiling warmly, he told Hudson she trusted him, and that he was counting on him too. Looking stunned, Hudson let those heavy words sink in. Waving goodbye, the guy wished him a super safe trip. The scene hard cut to an absolutely wrecked, completely destroyed city. He awkwardly thanked them for the fresh clothes, saying it was way too much. Weiser thanked him back, wishing him an epic journey while everyone else just watched. Ready to leave, he casually told Hudson to go sort out that massive compensation they talked about. Walking straight through the ruined city, he spotted a massive statue. You feel that tension too, right? He read the carved names James, Noah, Lucas, Jacob, Zion, and just looked up. Touching the cold stone, he quietly told those brave heroes to finally rest. He wished them eternal peace, offering a late thank you, and simply walked away. Asking about that payout, someone learned the successor was actually funding the families of the fallen knights. Totally blown away by this. They found out it was 10,000 gold coins per family. As he told Hudson he was paying the whole tab, a crazy multi-headed creature appeared, asking where he was going. Isabella heard him claim he was following what the stars commanded. He suddenly dropped that he needed to find someone else, totally shocking her. Smirking, he confirmed this mystery person was absolutely essential for boosting their combat power. Trust me, you'll love this reveal. A hooded figure appeared, another abandoned character from his past, just like Isabella. Pulling back the hood to show his face, he boldly introduced Isaac, the Thunder Cutter.